Приветствую вас, друзья! Сегодня с нами в гостях Джанкарло Дель Сордо, президент компании Acustica Audio. И сегодня мы поговорим о множестве различных вещей, включая Небулу, Акву, инноваций, которые Acustica Audio внедряла в течение многих лет в свои продукты. И в целом мы поговорим о том, как Acustica Audio изменила аудиоиндустрию и все, что с этим связано. Будет очень интересно. Мы, возможно, сегодня будем работать вместе с переводчиком, но пока он не присоединился к нам, мы начнем нашу трансляцию только с Джанкарло. Сегодня по каким-то неизвестным космическим причинам все переводчики оказались заняты различными форс-мажорами, различными непонятными ситуациями, поэтому мы начинаем вдвоем с Джанкарло и потом посмотрим, как это будет двигаться. Что ж, привет, Джанкарло. Ребята, я сейчас буду одновременно и говорить по-русски, и переводить это все Джанкарло на английский. То есть я буду в одном лице и ведущим, и переводчиком. Какое-то время, по крайней мере, пока к нам не присоединится переводчик. Hello, Giancarlo. I just say hello to guys. A bit talking about Acustica Audio, talking a bit about what we'll talk about today, and I guess we can start. Say hello to guys.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
Ребята, скажите привет Джанкарло, напишите в комментариях привет. И хочу напомнить, чтобы вы не забывали оставлять ваши вопросы в процессе трансляции. Я задам их Джанкарло, и он постарается ответить на них в прямом эфире. So, Giancarlo, I just ask guys to ask questions in real time, so you could answer not only my prepared questions, but live questions from YouTube chat. So I guess it would be okay. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's start. Giancarlo, today we know you as a CEO of Acustica Audio, but as I know, previously you've worked on different works, not connected with music, not just with music production, but not connected with music at all. What it was? Which works?
Yes, I was working in several financial institutions, and after also for Regione Lombardia. First kind of job was about asset management in what we name in Italy SGR, which are the Società Gestione Risparmio. Basically, we're speaking about the funds, so financial funds. And the second job was more in the data warehouse area for Regione Lombardia, which is our main data warehouse system of a big section of our county. So I'm expert about databases, about, I don't know, health system, things like that.
Окей, I'll translate it. До того, как начать заниматься музыкой и работать в Acustica Audio, Джанкарло занимался в основном финансовыми вещами. То есть он работал в нескольких компаниях, которые занимались именно финансами. А потом Джанкарло начал работать с базами данных и с вещами, которые связаны с этими базами данных. And what happens next? You decided that it was so stupid, so boring, and not so inspiring for you.
No, really, I was also small music engineer for small dance production around 2005, and I was producing a lot of dance songs for radio stations. And there was a time where I decided to create also my own tools. So it was like an hobby for me, but it was going to also became a sort of job, a daily job. But I was not sure because it was not paid a lot. So this was my main concern about it.
Окей,
And,
wait a bit, I'll translate it. Я спросил у Джанкарло, почему он перестал заниматься вот этими всеми финансовыми вещами, и Джанкарло сказал, что где-то в районе 2005 года он начал заниматься музыкой, в основном производством танцевальной музыки, которая выпускалась на радиостанциях, и в какой-то момент Джанкарло осознал, что ему не хватает инструментов для создания той музыки, которой ему хотелось. И он начал посвящать свое время тому, чтобы создать эти инструменты, и вот это маленькое производство музыки начало перерастать в компанию по производству уже музыкального оборудования. Окей, Джанкарло, you can continue.
yes, and I was moving to a different building, a different home, and because I was just changing my house, my building. And at the same time, we had an issue on our main company because this big financial institution I was working for had a sort of merge with another company. So we were at the time, it was Nexta, SGR, and there was a sort of acquisition from CAM Crédit Agricole, which is a French company. So there was a small amount of, there was a sort of window where I was forced to do nothing because my job was sort of frozen. At the same time, also, my music activity was frozen because I was changing my residence. I was moving to a different location.
Окей, understood. Насколько я понял, в то время случилась такая ситуация, что компания финансовая, в которой работал Джанкарло, подверглась влиянию с французской финансовой компанией. Название я немного не понял, но это, я думаю, не так важно. И получилось вот такое непонятное окно, потому что на своей старой работе Джанкарло уже ничего не делал, она как бы была заморожена. Здесь, в музыкальном производстве, тоже как-то было все заморожено, и он начал думать о том, как это все сдвинуть с мертвой точки. Okay, Giancarlo, you can continue.
Okay, so it was a sort of free time, paid time, but free time for doing other activities. So I decided to create my own tools, but it was just a small game. It was not prepared to create something big because just I was interested in liquid channel, liquid mix, several hardware gear from Focusrite. But at the time, I was doing simple dance productions, and I was doing music using a simple laptop because my recording facility, I had a small recording facility with another mate, but in a different town. And I was more doing things using a small laptop for a small label located in Milan, which was named Motivo. So I was a bit forced to create software because not just because the gear was expensive, but because the gear was heavy to carry. You know, liquid mix, liquid channel, hardware device, and they were heavy to bring with me to move from a studio to another studio. Yeah.
Окей. Джанкарло говорит, что у него появилось достаточно много свободного времени, оплачиваемого времени, и он занимался производством танцевальной музыки. Подождите секунду, пришел переводчик, я сейчас ему напишу, чтобы он присоединялся.
So at this point, I was.
Wait a second, Giancarlo. I'll translate. Our translator will join us after a couple of minutes. I'll just tell guys that translator already almost here. Okay, I'll continue translating. Sorry for inconvenience. Хорошо, ребята, возвращаемся к переводу. Джанкарло сказал, что он занимался вот производством танцевальной музыки, но он занимался этим на лэптопе. И у него была студия, но в другом городе, с хорошим оборудованием, и он начал попробовать какие-то суррогатные варианты, типа Liquid Mix от Focusrite, чтобы как-то работать на лэптопе и создавать музыку на лэптопе. Но все приборы, которые Джанкарло считал качественными, весили очень много, и их невозможно было перевозить вместе с ним, в то время как он передвигался очень много. И это заставило его начать создавать приборы, которые бы могли покрыть его потребности в инжиниринге и в музыкальном производстве. Okay, Giancarlo, you can continue.
Okay. I was not really interested in liquid mix, to be honest, but I was interested in this kind of device, which is really like a chameleonic device. So you can load, for example, an SSL, and you can have your wall recording facility working at the same time. And for me, it was very important to carry the whole recording studio inside a single laptop. So this was my main basic idea. And I was just trying to code my own tools, but I was not really a good programmer, to be honest. I just needed it. So my idea was creating something ugly, something even not working, but just for doing the dirty job, and continue to work inside the notebook, inside the laptop, inside the computer, and just to help me to create a more convincing sound, because at the time I was using a lot of software. I remember Waves. I was using a lot of different tools, but they were not working as expected. They didn't have the hardware so especially at the time. Then things changed a bit, because I remember that there was a big improvement on the software side. But in 2005, situation was not very good on the plugin side. They were very distant from the hardware counterparts. So for me, it was just the need for the creation of a tool for myself. And I can see your translator now. I think.
Okay. Giancarlo, we could to translate all you talking about. Привет, Серега. Ребята, к нам присоединился Сергей Савин, главный программист проекта Yorshoff Mix, и сегодня он будет переводчиком на нашей трансляции, чтобы я меньше заикался, потому что очень тяжело переводить и вести, и все это одновременно очень сложно уложить в голову. Ладно, мы пока переведем то, что сказал Джанкарло, и дальше Серега подхватит, и мы продолжим. Серега, скажи пару слов, тебя слышно?
Well, okay. Hello, всем привет. Джанкарло.
Отлично. Тебя слышно? Ты нас слышишь?
И да.
Хорошо, я тогда переведу. Окей, Giancarlo, I'll translate all you say, and then we'll continue. Okay?
Okay. Yeah, I can stop when you need. Just tell me to stop, and maybe.
Okay. No problem, Giancarlo. Don't worry.
Okay.
Что ж, ребята, Джанкарло рассказал очень интересную ситуацию. В 2005 году, когда он начал очень плотно заниматься музыкальным производством на своем лэптопе, он попробовал Liquid Mix, как я уже говорил, но Liquid Mix не очень ему нравился как исполнен. То есть ему не очень нравилось качество обработок, не очень нравилась сама железяка, но тем не менее идея использования различных приборов, NIV, SSL, API в одном корпусе его очень привлекала. И поэтому он задумался над тем, чтобы делать какие-то свои приборы. Но проблема заключалась в том, что он был очень плохим программистом, и приборы, которые он начал делать, были не очень хорошими. приборами. И вместе с этим он начал тестировать приборы различных производителей, которые на то время существовали, и они совершенно не удовлетворяли его в плане качества звука, так как они были значительно хуже аналоговых приборов, к которым он привык, и Джанкарло не хотел никак мириться с вот этой возникшей проблемой. То есть получилась такая ситуация, что есть задача создавать музыку на лэптопе, но нет решение, которое бы могло эту задачу никак решить. Железяки слишком тяжелые, чтобы возить их за собой, и слишком неудобные. Liquid Mix совершенно недоработанная вещь была, по мнению Джанкарло, а современные на то время плагины совершенно не удовлетворяли его в плане качества звука. Окей, Giancarlo, we'll stop on that you're not so happy with software was available on 2005.
I should be honest on this point. I used a lot of hardware in the past, but it was not professional hardware because you know dance music in Italy was achieved by a small producer with very cheap tools and cheap gear. There was not much money at the time. And I remember I had no a clear idea about, for example, how an SSL console should sound, because I had no experience on the console. But I was trying to get this kind of sound, of tone. I was listening on different recordings, maybe from USA or from UK, you know, and I was trying to get something more in the pop. In the pop area, because before I was more focused in dance, and was pretty good in dance music, but at the time, dance music was moving to a sort of pop, a sort of hip hop, sort of a different genre, and there was a sort of need of more expensive tools. And I remember I had no knowledge about real expensive hardware. I had no idea about how the hardware should sound. At the same time, I was not completely satisfied by software. So this is the point, this is the starting point. And from the small producer perspective, you know that you are doing something correct, but the sound is not correct. And sometimes it's not because you are a bad engineer, but because you don't have proper tools. Or maybe you are not investing on a proper room, or sometimes on gear, or sometimes you cannot have maybe the right microphones. You can have the right, and you are trying to cover, you are trying to fill the gap using plugins, you know. But the plugins in 2005 were not very good. Okay, surgical ones were very good. For example, I remember also Waves was not bad. But when you were going to reproduce an SSL, where you're going to reproduce a NIV sound, okay, they were not good enough, in my opinion. And at the same time, I remember that I didn't know how a NIV or SSL should sound. I just was aware that my sound was not professional.
Okay, Giancarlo, wait a second. We have too much to translate.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold your mind. Да, Серега мне тут в процессе написал в скайпе, что очень сложно, да, Серега, переводить?
Да, малость сложно привыкнуть к лексике сразу.
Да, ну хорошо, ты потихоньку вникай, я пока буду переводить, в какой-то момент подхватишь меня, когда я уже устану, окей? Все, хорошо. Что ж, Джанкарло рассказал о том, что он работал с железным оборудованием, но дело в том, что он использовал местное оборудование итальянского производства, которое было не очень хорошим, с не очень крутых компонентов, и он совершенно не понимал, какое должно быть звучание консолей SSL, API, NIV. Это было что-то для него совершенно невообразимое. И в то же время он слушал профессиональные записи и понимал, как это все должно звучать, и что его оборудование звучит совершенно не так, как он ожидает. Он начал думать, что надо попробовать, возможно, найти какие-то плагины, которые могут решить эту проблему, о чем мы говорили немного ранее. И в плагинах, которые существовали в 2005 году, он не находил этого качества. То есть он пробовал использовать плагины, но они звучали не так, как должны были звучать, вот так, как он слышал на современных популярных топовых записях того времени. И он пришел к тому, что надо как-то искать вот этот звук SSL, звук API, звук NIVA и пытаться внедрять это все с помощью какого-то нового программного обеспечения. Потому что у него не было денег на реальный SSL, у него были деньги на аналоговое оборудование местного производства, которое было нехорошим и которое в то же время было таким же тяжелым, как SSL, и он не мог его использовать. То есть ситуация сложилась на самом деле достаточно сложная. И только Джанкарло на самом деле мог эту ситуацию в какой-то момент решить для себя, потому что на тот момент никаких решений не было. То есть у тебя было два варианта. Либо ты используешь железное оборудование, которое стоит очень дорого, чего он не мог делать, либо же ты используешь плагины, которые звучат хуже, и, соответственно, твои записи будут звучать хуже. И проблема усложнялась дополнительно еще и тем, что в 2005 году танцевальная музыка, в которой Джанкарло был очень хорош, стала двигаться в сторону симбиоза с поп-музыкой. А вот в поп-продакшене качество на то время уже было запредельным. И Джанкарло прекрасно понимал, что с текущими технологиями он не сможет вывести свой танцевальный продакшн на такой уровень, чтобы он хорошо влился в современный поп-дэнс продакшн, если можно так сказать. Это вот вкратце о том, что говорил Джанкарло. Ну, я думаю, не совсем вкратце. Хорошо. Окей, Джанкарло, we could continue.
Okay. At the time, I remember that when we were going to release a dance track, there were more versions for the same track. I remember there was, for example, an original version, a radio cut, an extended version, and so on. One of them was more a pop track, was more an original, with a sort of pop tone, a sort of more professional recording. You know, there is the dance track with a lot of bottom drum, and then you have a sort of pop track which should be the original song. It was inside the same release. So we were a bit forced to create something with a better tone. And I remember also there was a sort of trend to sample original songs from, for example, 80s and 70s. But the idea was to recreate them from the scratch because it was the only way for not to pay rights on them.
Okay.
And, so the point was to create also original samples using, for example, I don't know, something like violins in the 70s or 80s, or strings in the period, trumpets, and things like big orchestras, things like that. So the point was try to reach this kind of sound in the box. And we were a bit forced to look for a solution. And I remember that I tried a lot of different solutions. Okay, hardware solution was not possible. I repeat, not just for the price, but because we were a sort of a new generation of laptop music creation. So it was a sort of mission on my side to find a sort of workaround for getting the sound of big recording facility in the box, because I was forced to do it. So,
okay,
because you know, I was moving a different town. I was moving with my notebook. I was creating music in a different recording facilities, but I had to carry my equipment from a recording facility to the other one. So I was a bit forced to create a sort of workaround for getting the expensive sound in the box, because it was the only practical solution for us. So, you know, when you need something, you are a bit forced to create a solution, to create a workaround.
Окей, I'll translate it. Джанкарло продолжит говорить о том, что основной проблемой работы с вот этим современным на то время поп-дэнс продакшеном было то, что для использования каких-то старых поп-треков, для ремикса, для какого-то пересведения этих вещей, нужно было платить деньги за использование этих треков официальным владельцам этих треков, то есть платить роялти. Но никто не хотел этого делать, поэтому надо было искать какой-то вариант, чтобы вот эти все вещи можно было воссоздать. То есть воссоздать звучание скрипок струнных 70-х, 80-х, воссоздать звучание тромбонов, труб, воссоздать звучание оркестровых хитов, то есть воссоздать звучание поп-треков, поп-хитов прошлых десятилетий без необходимости платить роялти за использование вот этих вещей. И Джанкарло начал думать о том, как это сделать, как найти приборы, которые бы могли решить эту проблему, потому что написать партии — это одно дело, но их же нужно потом и обработать, а современные на то время обработки никак не были приспособлены для того, чтобы повторить качество звучания оригинальных треков. И вот еще о чем говорил Джанкарло, что проблема дополнительно усложнялась тем, что на то время, на 2005 год, использование опции дорогого аналогового оборудования было уже невозможным. И не только по причине того, что оно стоило очень дорого, а еще и по причине того, что в то время появились все эти современные лэптопы, которые и артисты, которые создавали музыку на лэптопах, и нужно было как-то решить вот эту проблему с качеством, чтобы люди могли спокойно создавать музыку на лэптопах. Джанкарло был одним из людей вот этой генерации, которые создавали музыку на лэптопах, он постоянно переезжал из города в город, и нужно было быть мобильным. И идея была в том, чтобы создать программное обеспечение, которое бы могло работать на лэптопе без никаких дополнительных приставок, приблуд, которые нужно было присоединять к этому к компьютеру и возить это все с собой. То есть Джанкарло сказал о том, что у него был только один выход – начать делать эти вещи самому, потому что если тебе что-то нужно начинать это делать самому. Giancarlo, we can continue. I've translated it to guys. Super interesting story, really. So
there was this sort of starting point. We had a need, and I remember I tried every possible solution because we had this sort of need to create this sort of pop expensive sound. So we tried all possible plugins, and they didn't work. Then I tried to read all possible papers, all possible books. I remember there was a book from Bobby Owsinski.
Owsinski,
recording engineer handbook. It was also describing a lot of techniques about recording, and there was a sort of section containing interviews to big recording engineers. And I remember they were using a lot of stuff I was not using. For example, they were speaking about EMT reverbs. They were speaking about SSL console, MIDI console. They were saying, okay, when I need to create this sound, I just start my Neve sidecar, and this particular Neve came from the 70s. This is very good because this is swift sound, this is very soft, and I can smear transient and things like that. So I was reading books and was just trying to understand why our pop songs were not so credible, were not so good. You should also understand that in Italy, there were big recording facility, but they were more focused on pop, Italian pop and rock styles. And all dance stuff was creating on budget using a small console. The biggest recording facility in dance, I remember, were just using a simple AMEC console. They were not using SSL. They were not using NID. At least in Italy, this was a situation for dance. You should understand that dance music in Italy was a sort of big kind of genre, big kind of song, because there was less money. And I remember also that it was not very important kind of music. It was, okay, radio station were playing a lot of dance tracks, a lot of dance songs, but the sound was a bit like plastic. I don't know if you remember the typical Italian dance track. And it was just because our recording facility were really small on budget. They were using a lot of plugins, and the quality was not very high. So I was reading, just telling you, I was reading all possible books, I was reading all possible stuff, and I was sort of asking why they can reach this kind of sound we cannot reach. So maybe sometimes, okay, maybe there are better engineers, maybe they have better rooms, maybe they have better loudspeakers, possibly they are not hobbyists, maybe they are doing it because it's a daily job. Why dance music was mostly created by DJs, but people without knowledge, or people, for example, like me, I had a different job. So maybe it was a sort of caused by lacking of experience. But in my mind, I was more and more convinced there was also a matter of missing gear. So there was something missing, and we were sort of crowding our tracks with a lot of plugins, but at the end of the day, the sound was not very convincing, was not very full. It was like losing the focus. It was like the detail was maybe sometimes too much present, but the music was losing the soul. I don't know if you remember this kind of...
Yeah, I remember. Okay, Giancarlo, I need to stop you because too much to translate. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much that you're trying to speak slowly today. I know that it is difficult to Italian guy, like for Ukrainian guy, like me too. I'm trying to talk and blah 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 too. It is something similar. Okay, yeah. I need to translate all you're talking about. Что ж, друзья, я переведу то, о чем говорил Джанкарло, потому что это достаточно важные моменты, которые стали основой для формирования акустика аудио и, в принципе, современного мира в аудиотехнологий. Что ж, Джанкарло говорил о том, что он пробовал разные решения, разные какие-то обходные пути, которые бы могли решить проблему того, как сделать классную музыку, качественную музыку без покупки какого-то супердорогого оборудования. И Джанкарло пробовал решение и в какой-то момент начал читать всевозможные статьи, книжки, и вот он обратил внимание на книгу, которую, я думаю, все из нас читали. Это книга Бобби Овсински «Recording Engineering Handbook». Она есть на русском языке, и 100% кто уже какое-то время занимается звукорежиссурой, ее читал. Если кто-то не читал, обязательно почитайте. Книга старая, но она до сих пор актуальна и интересна. И вот Джанкарло сказал, что в вот этой книге его особенно зацепил раздел, где Бобби берет интервью у топовых инженеров того времени. И больше всего его поразило и раздразнило то, что инженеры говорят, ну вот я взял свою там нивовскую консоль, включил, добавил на вокале там чего-то, на другом инструменте еще чего-то. Вот моя консоль звучит мягко, красиво, очень круто. И вот это Джанкарло совершенно обескуражило, что без какого-то дорогого, очень дорогого, скажем так, оборудования невозможно делать никакую музыку в Италии, которая бы хоть как-то сравнялась по качеству с вот этими коммерческими американскими образцами. И ситуация дополнительно осложнялась еще тем, что современный продакшн в Италии на то время был очень стиснут или затиснут в рамки бюджета. То есть даже топовый поп-продакшн делался на максимум консолях AMEC, которые, по мнению Джанкарло, не были так хороши, как консоли NIV или SSL или API, и это был максимум качества, который можно было получить в Италии на то время. И Джанкарло сказал, что мы должны помнить вот то звучание итальянских треков, которое было не очень хорошим. Оно было пластиковым, оно было каким-то очень зажатым, оно было неплотным, но это все определялось тем, что в Италии использовали плагины в то время, а в топовый американский продакшн использовал все же старое оборудование из 70-х, 80-х годов. Старые консоли, ревербераторы EMT и все такое прочее. И вот в тот момент у Джанкарло достаточно ясно сформировалась мысль, что нужно вот это оборудование как-то перенести в софтверный мир, потому что он пробовал делать какие-то треки, и он начал понимать, что проблема не только в том, что, возможно, у него нет каких-то навыков, а в том, что не хватает оборудования. Банально не хватает оборудования для того, чтобы делать качественные вещи. Okay, Giancarlo, we can continue.
Okay, so there was a problem. And I was just trying to find a solution, and we tried. So we started with plugins; they were not working. We started with convolution. I remember there was a website named Noise Vault with a lot of inputs response from a big console and other gear. So I tried also to use convolution techniques, but okay, it was a bit better, I remember, but it was not completely satisfied. So, with my mate Luca, in our recording studio in La Spezia, we tried to create a pop song from the scratch using this kind of new technique based on convolution, just using a circumvolver and several impulse response. And we tried to get a proper song out. And I remember it was a bit better than just using plugins emulating, for example, SSL. Okay, so we tried to use convolution, and we realized that the result was not so bad, but still distant from the real deal. So there was something wrong. You know, when you know that there is something wrong, you know that maybe there is something missing, you are trying everything, even simple, because when you read a normal book, they say, don't use too much processing tools. Try to get a proper recording of your voice, for example. Then try to focus on getting a proper equalization using few tools and try to get the music out. Okay, we tried, and it was not enough. So, okay, there is a point when you understand that it's not that you miss the knowledge, you miss a proper tool for doing the job.
Yeah.
This is.
Okay, understood. I'll translate it. But I need to ask something. Where you get all these impulse responses from SSL and other stuff?
Noise Vault. There was an external website created by, I don't remember the name of the owner anymore, but it's a new something like that. He's also a user, active user in Giaslaz, I think I went today.
Okay, understood.
Noise Vault, if I'm not wrong, was this website, And if you, I don't know if you remember, it was crowded with a lot of impulse response for liquid mix and for liquid channel, because they were recording proper tools, but at different gain levels. So it was a bit surprised, because I said, okay, there are a lot of impulse response in this website. They are taken at a different level. Maybe I need the other tools. Maybe the convolution alone is not enough. Maybe I need dynamic convolution, because this kind of stuff was also created for dynamic convolution gear, like liquid mix or like liquid channel or things like that.
Окей, I can translate now. Джанкарло рассказал, что в какой-то момент вместе со своим приятелем Люком на его студии они попробовали сводить трек с помощью импульсных характеристик, которые они взяли на каком-то сайте. Джанкарло не смог точно вспомнить, что за сайт. Его владелец, один из активных пользователей Gear Slots. Я потом спрошу у Джанкарло, возьму ссылочку на этот сайт, и кому будет интересно, кликните мне в Skype, это не в Skype, а ВКонтакте, и я дам ссылку на этот сайт. Хорошо, вернемся немного. Джанкарло вместе с Люком взяли эти сэмплы, загрузили их в SIR 2, или тогда еще был SIR 1. Это плагин для воспроизведения импульсных характеристик. Мы его обычно ассоциируем с реверберацией, с ревербератором, но туда можно загрузить любые импульсные характеристики и использовать его вот именно с такой целью. И, в общем, ребята попробовали импульсы с дорогих консолей SSL, NIV и прочих, и начали сводить треки. Пробовали делать это по технологии, там, добавить к вокалу что-то, добавить к басу что-то, но немного обработки. Но в какой-то момент они осознали, что звучание получается не таким. Чего-то не хватает. Вот чего-то просто не хватает. И проблема реально была не в навыках, потому что они уже сократили количество обработок до минимума, но все же у них не получалось получить звучание, которое они хотели. Это звучание уже было значительно лучше, чем то, что они получали с плагинами, но все же это было недостаточным, то есть чем-то не таким, как мы слышали в то время в топовых американских записях. И Giancarlo начал думать, что вот это правильный путь, но чего-то не хватает. Liquid Mix на то время звучал неплохо, там использовалась уже динамическая конволюция, то есть несколько сэмплов, записанных на разном уровне gain staging, то есть на разном уровне усиления, но все же это все равно было не совсем то, но направление, которое задавали эти вещи, было верным. И поэтому Giancarlo начал думать об более сложных разработках. Okay, Giancarlo, I've told guys that you've started thinking about something more convenient in dynamic convolution way. And
yes,
you can continue.
I had a lot of questions, I remember at the time, because, you know, I was a dance guy, so we were really used to sampling. Because, you know, all dance stuff, all dance music is mostly based on the sampling of something. So the idea of sampling a console, the idea of sampling an expensive equalizer was really something very appealing for me. I had also another question, because you know, when your daily job is to sample something, you know that mostly the quality of your result is a consequence of the quality of your converters. Is not something obvious if you are using an hardware recording facility, but when you are a dance producer, you know that if you are going to sample using a Kurzler sampler or a Roland sampler or an Akai sampler, you can get a different result. So when I tried impulse response from noise volt, my idea was that the console sampled in that website were not captured using proper converters. This is my idea, because the result was not good. I told everybody, okay, convolution is a good technique, because convolution is a math technique. I had a sort of preparation because I was an engineer, basically. So I know that convolution is working. It's not a bad technique. But the result was not good. So my idea was maybe the impulse response they are sharing this website is not properly tuned. Maybe they used the better converters. Maybe they didn't do their homework properly. So I asked the friend who was traveling in a different country in the UK and was going to visit a big recording facility located in London. It was a Sphere recording studio. Now that recording studio doesn't exist anymore because they relocated in the USA. But I asked to sample their SSL console, but there was not enough time and they didn't. So I was still wondering if the console was really worth my effort, if it was a matter of converters, if it was a matter of technique, maybe dynamic convolution or static convolution. And I didn't know how to solve this problem. So this was my starting point. So a lot of questions about how to reach a result. You know the starting point, you know your goal, which is your target point. You know that there are maybe different kind of things to debug. It could be the impulse response, maybe it's not good enough. Maybe it could be the technique, which is not good enough. For example, static versus dynamic. Maybe it could be, the convolution is not working at all. Maybe it's not the right technique for properly emulating this console. So a lot of questions and
no answers.
and no answers. So we had to do our homework to possibly find a sort of try and all possible solution, try maybe different alternatives in order to improve. My goal was not to reach the hardware console. My idea was to get just a better result, which was good enough in order to get a sort of original sample to use in our dance production.
Yeah, because the main goal is making music, not engineering, but making music, making good music.
It was. I remember I was not looking for the best result possible or to get something better than hardware, but just to understand why our songs, our music was not at the right, correct audio quality level, and just to look for a solution for improving it just a little bit. The point was, okay, we can have this today. Can we improve a little bit in order to emulate maybe something coming from a big recording facility to get a more credible sound? What was the question? And no answer.
Okay. Okay, I'll translate it. Джанкарло продолжил говорить о том, что они пробовали с ребятами найти какой-то вариант решения этой проблемы, сложившейся ситуации. И первое, что пришло им на ум, это то, что вот эти сэмплы, вот эти импульсные характеристики, которые они нашли на веб-сайте, были записаны с помощью не очень хороших конвертеров. И поэтому качество музыкального результата, то есть треков, которые делали ребята в то время, было не очень хорошим. И они начали заморачиваться по поводу качества конвертеров. И на самом деле это оказалось каким-то правильным направлением, потому что в то время очень популярными были сэмплеры, и разные музыканты использовали разные сэмплеры. Акай, Роланд, Таскам, любые другие. И каждый из них давал разное качество звучания. вот этих сэмплированных отрезков из старых песен. И вот это как раз и была вещь, на которую нужно было обратить внимание, на качество конвертеров, которые используются в процессе музыкального продакшена. И в один день Джанкарло попросил одного из своих приятелей, который ехал в Великобританию, в Лондон, заехать на студию звукозаписи и попробовать сделать слепки, то есть импульсные характеристики с консоли SSL, но уже с помощью более качественных каких-то вариантов, качественных конвертеров, качественных техник. И он приехал на Sphere Studio. Этой студии, Джанкарло говорит, уже в Лондоне нет, она переехала в Штаты, но в то время она была там, и он попробовал что-то сделать, но времени было недостаточно, и качество полученных сэмплов было лучше, чем то, что они использовали ранее. Но все равно это было не то, потому что непонятно было еще, что использовать. Динамическую конволюцию, статическую конволюцию, какие конвертера использовать, что с этим вообще делать. То есть было больше вопросов, чем ответов. Хотя на самом деле идея Джанкарло и его ребят была не в том, чтобы добиться вот аналогичного звука с железом от софтверного оборудования, а добиться такого звука, который бы позволил делать качественные вещи вот в их обстановке в Италии. Потому что то, что они делали, было не настолько хорошим по качеству, и во многом благодаря, точнее, из-за оборудования, которое они использовали. Потому что дорогого оборудования использовать они не могли, доступа у них к нему не было, а все, что было дешевое, оно давало не те результаты. И они хотели хоть как-то улучшить эту всю ситуацию. Okay, Giancarlo, you can continue.
Okay, so my point was, okay, first solution maybe is the impulse response. Okay, we tried to record a better one, but our friends didn't help us. So, okay, discard the solution. Then maybe it was maybe caused by static convolution versus dynamic convolution. So, but the solution was buying the liquid mix or liquid channel. They are heavy devices, a bit expensive, but it was not a matter of money. But they were heavy, not very easy to carry from a recording facility to the other one. So it was not a very good solution. We were poor because another solution would be also was maybe buying the missing hardware and create a big recording facility, but I was not getting enough money for doing them using music because the financial job was providing money, but I was not going to spend my money all in recording stuff without a proper return on the investment. So I was not sure about the solution. My idea was doing music as a daily job, but it was not possible because dance music was not paying a lot at that moment. And so we tried everything. At the end, I tried to understand what dynamic convolution is in order maybe to improve the process without buying an expensive device. So I remember I tried to read the original dynamic convolution patent in August. It was 2005. And I realized that the technique was really very simple. So in August, I decided to create a small tool just to test the technique and to understand if the technique was moving in the correct direction, and maybe if the direction was good enough, there was maybe the first step in better music, or maybe second step could be maybe buying a liquid mix device. I don't know. There was a lot of questions, I remember, and the only possible solution at the time was to try this kind of a solution to just to see if it was working in a better way. And if the music was improved in some way. And just to test using my little skills in programming, I'm an engineer, so I know how to code, but at that time I remember that my daily job was really simple. I was not able to program anymore because all my time was spent on databases or was spent on music, and you know your brain is not stimulated enough, so you forget how to code, how to create an application. But I was sort of forced to stop because I was moving to a different building. I was forced to stop because my daily job, there was this sort of merging, this sort of fusion with another bank. So our boss told us to stop all things and to rest a bit because we were going to wait and to understand the new direction of the bank. So there was a lot of time, nothing to do, a lot of questions. So I decided to create a sort of little test application in order to understand if the direction was good. And I did everything in this bank, because all the people working in that bank, in that financial institution, were forced to stop. I remember that the boss told us, okay, don't do anything. Read the newspaper, but don't start new projects. Let's try to keep the production alive and rest a bit, and we need to understand which is the new direction of the company, and do whatever you want, but don't start new projects. And so I thought, okay, I should surf on the internet, but okay, after a bit you are a bit bored because you know all the time there was not a Facebook at the time, but there were a lot of forums on audio. Yeah.
Only two solutions: read newspapers or watch porn. Yeah.
Yeah, there was someone watching porn. I'm not joking, but we were forced, and it was not an hidden job. It was just that everybody was stopped because we were waiting for the new buyer. And I remember we had a lot of spare time in our daily job. We were waiting because they told, okay, the new bosses are coming. They want to make a revolution in your job. Don't start anything new. Just let's wait and let's try to understand what they want. So we have a bit of time. Do whatever you want in your day, but don't start a new project and rest a bit. So it was a sort of order we received. And
okay,
I remember everybody was invested their time in different ways. I remember that someone was just reading the newspaper, someone was just keep learning, for example, more about the financial. Someone was even studying, I remember, in the office while we were waiting. I remember it was this strange situation.
Cool. I need to translate it. Джанкарло рассказал о том, что вот этот музыкальный продакшн, которым он занимался, он был сопряжен с тем, что он еще находился на старой работе, то есть занимался базами данных для финансового учреждения. И когда их компания была присоединена к другой компании, их босс сказал, чтобы они перестали делать что бы то ни было. То есть, чтобы не сидели, плевали в потолок, читали газеты, что угодно делали, чем угодно занимались, но только не начинали новых проектов. И то есть у него появилась куча свободного времени, которое оплачивается на самом деле. И Джанкарло решил его инвестировать в то, чтобы разобраться с ситуацией, которая сложилась на той момент у него в голове, ситуация, связанная с аудио вещами, и в первую очередь со сверточными технологиями. Джанкарло изучил Liquid Mix, разобрался с тем, что технология очень проста, и начал что-то программировать сам в этом направлении. Он написал очень простую программку для тестирования всех вот этих вещей, для тестирования импульсов, тестирования Liquid Mix. И вот это то, чем он как раз и занимался на тот момент. И вот эта вещь нужна ему была для того, чтобы разобраться с тем, как можно улучшить качество звучания аудиоматериала в итоге. Потому что, опять же, мы возвращаемся к тому, что главная задача, которая стояла перед Джанкарло, не создавать софт, не зарабатывать этим деньги, не делать что-то, чтобы как-то перевернуть мир. А все было очень просто. Он хотел делать музыку и хотел, чтобы его музыка звучала так же хорошо, как звучали коммерческие образцы. Вот и все. Окей, Giancarlo, we can continue.
Okay. My point was, okay, I was forced to invest my time for doing something different than my daily job. But during my daily job and everything under the sunlight, so I remember that I told everybody, I'm going to create a plugin. What is a plugin? Because, in a financial institution, they were not very focused on audio applications. They didn't know anything about other applications. They say, do what you want, but just don't break the production, because we had our databases and our application in production. Don't break anything. Do what you want. Spend your time as you want. Just stay there. Use your computer and don't tell me anything. Just okay. So it was a strange situation because I was starting what was a sort of new adventure, a new kind of job inside another job with the approbation from my boss, because just he told me, okay, do your plugin, and he even helped me. This wasn't strange because he was a good programmer, and he was programming in Born language because he was creating an application for the bank. And so I asked him a lot of things because I didn't know anything about the programming. And so I asked him, which is the better tool, maybe Microsoft or Borland? And he told me, no, use Borland because it's a better tool, I remember. And I was asking to all people in this company how to properly code. I remember I was asking how can create a destructor in C++. Very basic question, I remember, because I never coded in C++, only in Java. Financial institution coding using high-level languages. C++ is never used because it's a bit low level and you can create a lot of bugs. So it was a lot of Java application, a lot of Java knowledge, but nobody had a serious knowledge about C++. And only my boss did it because he was older than other people. So it was just used to use C++. This is incredible.
Because
incredible, but it was the wrong tool. In fact, there was a section of this company which was sort of coding, again, his application from C++ to Java. And yes, it was a strange situation. And he provided a lot of hints about how to code properly in C++, because, if you are going to code a plugin, you need C++ because it's an audio application, so you are going to code, you need low latency, you need something which is really fast coding. When you are coding something which is making calculation on funds, on databases, you can use an higher level language like Java, which is maybe not a real-time language, but is easier. You create less bugs. So this is the reason why they were converting from an application to the other one. It was easier to manage. This is the starting point. It's an interesting story, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's super interesting story. Yeah. Giancarlo, it is twice interesting because, as you remember, I meet you when Adam Crow was meet us with each other, and Adam told me that Oleg, look to Giancarlo, and when you looked at him, you will see genius. Giancarlo is a #1 genius in this world. He is so smart and so great on programming and stuff like that. And he can do.
I'm not a great programmer. No. I should be honest. There was a point. We were just our daily job was so much simple because it was a simple job. We were not able anymore to do a simple addition. We were not multiply a number by another number was difficult because our brain was sort of doing so repetitive things, and we were not able ever to use our brain matter anymore. I remember it was a really simple job. We were not able to program properly. We were not able to do anything because the job was really basic. I'm not joking. So it was really far from being a good programmer or even be a genius. I was not a genius at all, to be honest. I was just doing my music, and it was impossible to do music in my daily job because there was not loudspeaker. You cannot bring in a bank loudspeakers or things like that. So yeah. I tried to remix several dance tracks even there, but it was not possible because you don't have maybe a proper sampler. You cannot hear music at a proper gain. You want to use loudspeakers. You want to put your bottom drum, and it was just using earphones. So it was not the best way for producing music.
Yeah. Okay, Giancarlo. I need to translate it, but just decided to shy you a bit because Adam says a lot of great words about you and about your brain and about your mind blowing.
But we were really simple. You should understand that okay. You can tell me that now today that I'm a genius. It's not true, to be honest. But at that time, it was even more true because we were just simple guys working in simple financial institutions or simple banks, doing simple things. And we were just, in my case, I was just a musician, nothing more. And my starting point was just, okay, I am just a musician. I need just to do better music. For sure, I'm not a genius. Maybe I can be a good recording engineer, but not someone which can program, can do maths, can be really someone which is very expert, for example, about DSP, expert about, about coding. No, I was a really simple guy in doing a simple job with really my brain matter really sort of not used anymore. So I was even a bit stupid, to be honest, because when your daily job is doing this is a repetition, look in the database, search for transaction. After a while, you cannot use your brain anymore. So it was not a genius at all, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, Giancarlo. I need to translate all this stuff because a lot of need to be translated. Хорошо, ребята. Я переведу эту историю, потому что это довольно весело. Когда босс Джанкарло приостановил все проекты, которые они делали в вот этом финансовом учреждении, присоединенном к банку, Джанкарло начал заниматься вот этими поисками и исследованиями в области аудио, и он был ужасным программистом, он ничего не умел делать, и кроме того, все ребята, которые находились в его офисе, в какой-то момент перестали думать, перестали что-либо понимать, потому что их работа была очень простой, и они делали вещи быстро, но они делали примитивные вещи и особо не развивались. Поэтому это, традиционный офисный планктон был, если можно так выразиться, перефразируя то, что говорил Джанкарло. Но, тем не менее, босс Джанкарло был достаточно старым дядькой для того, чтобы знать язык C++. C++ более низкоуровневый язык, и его лучше использовать для написания кода для обработки сигналов. Но в банковских учреждениях они использовали Java, более высокоуровневый язык. И Джанкарло тогда кодил на Java, а C++ это была совершенно неисследованная область для него. Но его босс знал C++ очень хорошо, и Джанкарло просил его, чтобы он рассказал, как делать то, как делать это, и его босс помогал ему в этом. И ребята в офисе тоже, кто более-менее разбирался в C++, тоже помогали ему с этим. То есть получалась очень интересная ситуация. Джанкарло сидел на работе, зарабатывал деньги за то, что ничего не делает, и плюс еще все ребята, которые сидели в офисе и тоже зарабатывали деньги, помогали Джанкарло делать акустика аудио, если можно так выразиться, потому что в тот момент как раз акустика аудио и зарождалась в Джанкарло. То есть благодаря тому, что финансовая вот эта организация присоединилась к банку, и все программисты остались свободными до какого-то определенного момента, это дало время и возможность Джанкарло набрать достаточно навыков для того, чтобы заняться аудиопроизводством. Потому что все, что он хотел делать, это заниматься музыкой. А для этого ему нужны были какие-то устройства. Ну вот в таком ключе это двигалось. Также мы с Джанкарло немного посмеялись, я его немного посмущал по поводу того, что один мой приятель, который познакомил меня как раз с Джанкарло, говорил, что Джанкарло гений, что это один из немногих гениев на планете Земля, что он невероятно крут. И Джанкарло ответил мне на это, что нет, мы в то время были совершенно узколобыми ребятами, которые ничего не понимали, ничего не умели кодить и вообще занимались очень примитивными вещами, связанными с вот этой банковской работой. Но со временем он начал набирать навыки, и сейчас он знает очень много, но тем не менее до сих пор он не может сказать, что он какой-то гений. Но в любом случае, я думаю, это из лишней скромности, потому что все юзеры акустика аудио, в том числе и я, юзеры, я имею в виду с многолетним опытом, понимают, насколько сложные технологии лежат внутри вот этой системы. И как бы Джанкарло не рассказывал, что это да, это просто, это все очень примитивно, но почему-то только они эти технологии развивают, и у них до сих пор на рынке нет никаких крупных компетиторов, не знаю, как это перевести сейчас на русский язык, компаний, которые являются конкурентами, да, то есть нет крупных конкурентов, отлично. И из-за смешения языков я уже начал немного путаться. Что ж, ребята, я сейчас быстренько посмотрю вопросы, которые у нас есть на YouTube. Трансляция у нас уже идет практически 1,5 часа. Я вижу пару вопросов, но мы к ним дойдем немного позже. Я вижу интересный вопрос от Святослава Колодочкина, от Пола Бекса, но к этим вопросам мы вернемся позже. Обещаю вам, ребята. Что ж, Giancarlo, we can continue. I've got some questions from guys about what they're using for making convolution, but I guess we will back to these questions a bit later when we will be ready to discuss this stuff, because we're on the way on these questions. Yeah?
So the starting point was a good engineer, but on the music side, not on the math side. Because I have an engineering degree, but to be honest, when I was studying engineering stuff, I was not paying attention to math and to I was just trying to get my degree. But I was not a good student to be honest. So it was a normal guy which is working, doing a daily job which is pretty normal. To be honest, I was very good in engineering, but on the audio side, I think I have a good hair. I think I am pretty good on mixing, but I was using bad tools. It was not having a daily job, so you know when it's not a daily job, you cannot be very good in your stuff because you are not continuous. You you have a lot of interruption because you have to do your daily job. So
Yeah.
you can be maybe a good audio engineer, but not the best one for sure, because you are not serious in this activity.
Yeah, and because you spend your time
You spend your time in a different
not
way.
on mixing.
This is the point. If you spend your time doing other things, other stuff, and you are just trying to record music at night time, during the night, and when you are tired after a difficult day, you know, even if your daily job is simple, you are a bit tired, and you are not very concentrated to do properly your things. And so this is the starting point. So a bad programming guy, a bad programmer, maybe a good audio engineer, but with not proper good stuff for recording. A normal guy with
lack of experience because of daily job. Yes.
Yes. So the starting point was not very interesting, in my opinion. And to be honest, if today I'm here and I'm speaking with you, it's not just because I had a good idea, because you know, all people can have a good idea. I'm here because when I tried to code my first audio tool, my first audio utility, I was able to understand that this audio utility was had a proper sound. You know, if I can explain very well in English, but you know, when okay, you are not a good programmer, but when you maybe do a little application and you can understand, okay, this sound is better than this one. Okay, this direction is better than this one. Okay, this piece of code is doing interesting stuff. Okay, and for doing it, you need to understand where you need to be an user of your stuff. And I don't know if I can explain properly. Okay, let's suppose you are a car developer. You are building cars. Okay.
Okay.
You can be a bad engineer, but if you are a good driver, you understand that what you are building, what you are creating, is good or is bad. This is the main point. So sometimes when there is someone which is sort of dedicating to a different area, a different activity, what is important, it's not that is very good in doing this kind of stuff, but that is able to judge, is able to understand if the result is good enough.
Okay, understood. Okay, Giancarlo, I need to translate it because it is a strong point and we need to concentrate on it.
Yes.
Giancarlo сказал, что его начальное условие для создания акустики аудио, по большому счету, было то, что он был плохим инженером, его работа уже, ну, как бы, была не совсем эффективной, она была не совсем и нужной, потому что они с ребятами сидели и плевали в потолок. Ему было интересно заниматься музыкой. Он считает, что он на то время был хорошим аудиоинженером, с хорошим слухом. Он мог оценить, где запись качественная, где запись некачественная. Но в то же время у него не было ни достаточного оборудования, чтобы делать качественные записи, ни свободного времени, потому что днем он был на своей обычной работе, а вечером приходил уже уставший, хоть и работа простая, но тем не менее он все равно приходил уставший, и заниматься ночью музыкой, когда он уставший, это возможно, но это не совсем эффективно. И он все больше был поглощен идеей того, что что нужно заниматься музыкой все время, а не торчать на работе. И вот Джанкарло интересно описал эту ситуацию. Вот представьте, что вы производитель автомобилей, и вы понимаете, что вы плохой производитель автомобилей, но в то же время вы хороший гонщик, хороший пилот автомобиля. И вот вы, как хороший пилот, можете оценить, вы сделали хорошую машину или плохую машину. И вот в каком-то таком ключе Джанкарло оценивает и свою тогдашнюю ситуацию. То есть он был плохим программистом, но в то же время он очень хорошим судьей был. Он понимал, что хорошо, а что плохо. И вот это была отправная точка для того, чтобы начать заниматься этим вот полный день, если можно так выразиться. Okay, Giancarlo, we need to shorten a bit this story. We have a lot of time already on our stream. And I want to ask you, when you decided to make Acustica audio, so as I understood, you have a raw idea of what do you want to do? And where in this point Acustica audio?
When I tried to create my first basic dynamic convolution version of the dynamic convolution algorithm, I understood that okay, I was not a good programmer, but I was able to understand that what I was doing, it was better than, for example, circumvolver. And I didn't have any knowledge about how liquid mix worked. To be honest, I was sure that the liquid mix, liquid channel technique was good. This is very important to say, because I was sure that the technique was working and the normal convolution was not working. Then I tried my version of dynamic convolution and it was working. It was a bit different from dynamic convolution because there was not enough power in the computer for doing the original version of dynamic convolution using the same algorithm. So I tried a different version. It worked. I was able to understand that the sound was really good, better for sure than a normal convolver. It was even a bit a mistake, because I was not doing things properly. I do things in a better way, but was able to understand that this way was good. So after several years of coding, because I started in 2005, after a couple of years, I realized that the first plugin was not just something for myself, but was good also for other people. Because from my audio engineering perspective, it was a good result, better than normal plugins. This is the point. When you understand that you have in your hands something which is better than other tools, you maybe realize that you have something in your hands and you have to invest on it and to share to other people. But I was not going to create a company able to create money. You know, in Italy, it's very difficult to create things because you have a lot of taxes, a lot of expenses. So I tried to create a sort of fake company just for paying taxes. So the point was not to create something which is for a daily job. No, it was not for that. It was, okay, let's create a company. Let's try to just cover our expenses. So, and we can maybe share this sort of tool to other people. We can share expenses. For example, we can place things on servers because we can pay servers. We can maybe invest a little bit on this tool because we have a little money to invest and so on. And we were not going to get a job from it because we were not sure to earn money, to be honest. Okay, it was in our mind, okay, if we can sell a lot of plugins, maybe it could be a daily job. But at the very beginning, I was not interested in programming. I was just interested in creating a tool, maybe sharing this sort of tool.
And then making music.
but for doing better music and for getting better contacts with other producers. My idea was, okay, if I can help other people, maybe I can get some sort of gain in my music, in my audio adventure, because they can help me. I don't know. I help you, you help me. I give you a tool, but I'm a sort of the center of a cultural explosion, a sort of a cultural revolution. And if I'm in the middle, it's not just because I want to create an audio company. It's because I want to expand my music business. So this is the point. Was not creating an audio software company. It was really far. And if you read the forums, a lot of things, I was just telling everybody, I'm not interested in programming. So you can judge me. Maybe you can tell me I'm not a good programmer because our application was crashing a lot. At the beginning, it was really crashing a lot. And I was telling everybody, okay, I'm just doing it for showing you how to do it. Maybe better programmers will do it. I was sure that showing this sort of a path, other people, other companies were interested in doing it, because when I was looking for a proper impulse response, our friends didn't, because there was no time. I was just to convert, to teach other people that dynamic convolution could work doing it in this new way, and was waiting for better programmers. So I was just, okay, I'm showing you that this technique works. There is a lot of interest. Let's wait for better programmers. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I'm just showing what's possible using maybe a different perspective.
But making music, yes?
And my only target, my only goal was, okay, if I help other people, they can help me in my music business. Maybe I can have someone which can master my songs. Maybe I can access bigger recording facility for doing better music. Maybe I can remix them. I don't know, songs from Madonna or other people, because you know, when you are the center of a cultural revolution, you have a sort of a network. So more people know you, and you can expand. You can ask, okay, can you provide me vocals from these Madonna songs? Maybe I can remix it. So this is the point. This is the fun was that I was looking just to expand the music business, and the audio programming area was not interesting for me at all, and it was not interesting for a long time. I remember all 2007, all 2008, I was telling everybody, guys, I'm a very bad programmer. Don't ask me to program in a better way. But this thing has a good sound. Okay, can you hear? It's working. Okay, let's hope someone listens to me and tries to recreate it in a better way. This is the point. So I was waiting for better programmers, but also other companies or other people just contact me and telling me, oh, I am a better programmer than you. Can you tell me how you did it? Maybe I can help you in your activity. And nobody was interested, because when you have something which is a sort of different from the other tools, musicians were able to understand it from the very beginning, but other companies not, because our technique was considered boring. It was not a rocket science. It was just a bad approach to the problem for them, because it was expensive on the CPU cycle side. It was expensive because it was using too much RAM. And they didn't understand. Also, other programmers from other company didn't understand the powerness of this technique. They just were looking for a proper way for reducing the calculation. We were instead looking for a sort of a brute force approach in order to emulate properly a console, but other companies didn't understand immediately why we were doing it that way. There was not even a knowledge about why our technique was working, to be honest. It was a sort of, because nobody was interested. They were doing money in a different way. For them, their technique was good enough, like our one. Our one was not convenient because it was too much expensive on CPU, was not practical. Okay, too few instances of an emulation, so not good. Musicians were interested in what we were doing, but they they had just a sort of a crashing application. So, okay, they were happy, but not so happy. So there was a point where I was not sure about the direction. I was just waiting for an help from the outside.
Yeah.
At the same time, there were people inside the company. I remember there was a guy which was working with us. He was interested in doing it as a daily job. He was really interested in doing it. I was not interested because I realized that I was doing a lot of money with the other job. And I was just interested in doing music. So it was not my main idea. And he was more interested in money. I remember he was suggesting all the time, he was keeping suggesting all the time to raise our prices. Because he told me, if we can raise our prices, we can do it as a daily job. On the other side, I was not convinced because I told him, okay, if we raise the price, the expectation from customers is very high. Because if you are just delivering an application which is 20 euros, is very cheap. But if you are going to raise your price, it means that the expectation from your customer is bigger. But this is not a daily job, so you cannot do it. And if you want to do it, I'm not going to help you. So this was a sort of a conflict internal of our company. And the company, so then you can translate all this stuff. The company was composed mostly by consultants which were working with me in my financial institution. They were not musicians. This is incredible. This is the incredible point. Yeah, remember, Graziano was a consultant working with me. Antonello was a consultant working with me in the same company. And Francesco, which was an engineer, is not working with us anymore. He left the company in 2010. Maybe remember.
But you have another Francesco now.
Yeah, we have another Francesco. It's a different Francesco. He was working with me for the music job. He was an engineer. He was a sort of student. He was studying engineering too. And I remember he was more interested in this job, but he was working with me just because he was working as a sort of audio producer. For me, yes, creating demo songs. Yes, I was teaching how to produce dance music to Francesco, and he tried to help me with this, but we were not going. It was more really. He was hoping to get this Acustica as a daily job, but it was not my main idea. This was, I remember this. This is the starting point. I think this is.
It sounds like you created your company from jackasses from your old work.
Yes, this is what happened. It was happening.
Yeah,
so,
cool.
So the situation was better programmer, maybe a good audio engineer, but an hobbystic audio engineer. Just looking for a better tools. Okay, he coded a tool. He understood that the direction was better or at least different from other companies. He tried to create a company, but this was a sort of project company in order to cover taxes and to cover costs, so not a daily job. Then I was hoping that more programmers and more enthusiasts from other companies, yes, were joining us. I was not interested in doing it as a daily job. I was still interested in doing it as an audio guy engineer for expanding my audio business. I was interested in creating a bigger network, a better connection with other people. I was not even sure to do this audio software company in a proper way because there were too many bugs, too many crashes, too many issues. I was trying to help other people, but just in order to show that the technique was working. I was waiting for a tool, nobody created it, and there were a lot of conflicts inside our small company because, for example, Francesco was hoping, he hoped to do it as a daily job. I was not interested in doing it as a daily job for a long time and not be interested in doing it as a daily job. In fact, after several years, he left the company because when he realized that I was not going to create a company for doing it as a daily job, he decided to leave the company, to take the money, the little money from us, and to do something else. So this is, and there were a lot of conflicts. I was convinced about the powerness, but I was also convinced that it was not my main occupation. It was not my main job. It was just a sort of hobbyistic approach to the matter.
Okay, Giancarlo, I need to translate it, but I need to ask you one more. Which was your first product? It was for Liquid Mix or it was on separate engine?
No. It was a sort of dynamic convolution, but my idea, the very first version was a clone of Liquid Mix, but it was not possible. Because Liquid Mix is doing convolution in the time domain and is using a DSP for doing it. But in 2005, convolution was really an expensive, especially in time domain, was really an expensive task to do using a computer. So it was not possible to do convolution for each incoming sample. This was the main point. So I was forced to do it in blocks. So even if I tried to emulate dynamic convolution, really, I got something different. This is the where we started.
Okay, I understood. Okay, Giancarlo.
For the whole time, yeah. I was convinced that doing dynamic convolution in the proper way was going to improve it, not to create something worse. And I had no idea about how dynamic convolution was working, really, because I was sure that it was working. I don't know if you understand.
Yeah, I understand.
It's like you want to emulate something, but you don't have all the things for doing it properly. You do a sort of reduction on it. You try it and you say, okay, this thing is working. This thing is working. Maybe if I can do dynamic convolution, means the wall things, maybe I can do something better. Okay, let's try in the future. And so I started with something which was for me a sort of a compromise. I didn't know that the compromise was better than the original technique. So this technique was generated by an error, by a limitation. It was not generated because I knew what I was doing.
Okay, I need to translate all this stuff because we have a lot of stuff to translate. I'll try to make a short resume of it. Что ж, ребята, Джанкарло очень много рассказывал, но я сделаю краткое резюме, потому что некоторые моменты повторялись, как-то уточнялись, поэтому я думаю, я смогу сделать что-то более сжатое по времени. Что ж, Джанкарло сказал, что в какой-то момент они с ребятами основали компанию, но это была что-то типа фейковая компания, просто для того, чтобы покрывать какие-то их затраты на производство, на исследования, которые они делали. И эта компания и стала Acustica Audio. В эту компанию вошли несколько ребят, Антонелло, еще парни, которые работали с Джанкарло в его финансовом учреждении. То есть они вообще не разбирались в аудио разбирался Джанкарло, и они что-то начали делать вместе в этом ключе. И первый их продукт, который они сделали, если это можно назвать продуктом, наверное, можно, это что-то типа клона Liquid Mix, только работающий не на DSP, то есть не на железяке сторонней, а как софт. Джанкарло говорит, что он был ужасным программистом, и этот софт постоянно крашился, это все работало очень нестабильно, но ребята на форумах, музыканты, заценили эту вещь, и уже тогда стало понятно, что вот такая динамическая свертка, которую Джанкарло решил использовать в качестве основной идеи, основного массива для следующих каких-то разработок, что это как раз есть то, что нужно. И Джанкарло начал ждать программистов, которые могут заинтересоваться вот этой идеей, более качественных программистов, чем он, чтобы развить эту тему и получить какой-то более адекватный результат, который не будет так крашиться, будет есть меньше процессорной мощности и так далее. Но в тот момент люди, даже которые интересовались этим, они, когда начинали вникать в технологию, особо не продолжали вникать в нее, потому что это не была какая-то взрывная наука, это не было алгоритмическое программирование, если можно так сказать. Это была очень простая техника, которая требовала времени, но была очень эффективной в плане звука. И до определенного момента в качестве основного программиста выступал приятель Джанкарло Франческо, но в какой-то момент он ушел из компании, потому что Джанкарло никогда не был заинтересован в том, чтобы заниматься программированием на каких-то постоянных условиях в качестве своей основной работы. Он хотел делать музыку, он был хорошим инженером, я имею в виду звукоинженером, но он не хотел заморачиваться с софтверной компанией, которая будет делать плагины. Он хотел, чтобы кто-то подхватил его идею и сделал приборы, которые он бы мог потом использовать. То есть вот такая интересная ситуация получилась, что зарабатывать деньги плагинами — это не то, что хотел Джанкарло. В общем, это краткое резюме из того, о чем мы говорили. Мы можем двигаться дальше, и я буду дальше обращать вас на какие-то основные моменты, связанные с тем, о чем будет говорить Джанкарло. Okay, we can continue. I've made a short resume of what we're talking about. Giancarlo, let's talk about Nebula. When it was exist, because as I understood, you've got some ideas on this like liquid mix stuff on your computer, but Nebula was a second step or not?
No. I started alone in 2005, and I tried to emulate dynamic convolution using this sort of compromise. Then, when I realized that the compromise was very good, or at least was better than SIR convolution, I tried also to do normal convolution using this sort of new engine, which was working in time domain. And I remember that I liked the result more than SIR. Okay, now there is a reason why I liked it. Now I understand what happened. But at that time, I just realized that the new approach was better. Reason why the result was very good is because when you are forced to do convolution in time domain, you are forced to use a shorter impulse response. So you are sort of forced to truncate it in some way. And the resolution and the result is, okay, even if the ripple is a bit higher, the result is a bit more defined. And I was liking this effect on console emulation, on preamp emulation, more than using the full length. But at that time, I didn't understand the reason. I understood only that it was better. So, before Christmas, we are still in 2005, so really just a few months after doing the first attempt, I sort of created also my first compressor. And I remember that I forced myself to not read the patent, because my idea was, okay, if I can create something using this new approach without copying what other people are doing, maybe I can create really something different. And maybe I can get something which is more interesting, because it's a new approach. So I tried to get my first compressor, and it's incredible because the first emulation was a preamp. Then I had my first equalizer in October, so just after 1 month of coding, but it was not a plugin. It was just a sort of standalone application which was processing offline audio samples. And I had my first compressor before Christmas. And the compressor was better than my hardware compressor, because I sampled. I have here with me this Yamaha compressor, and I liked it a lot, like an hardware compressor more than plugin compressor. And the new technique was not bad. So I told myself, okay, this new approach is working. I can create a plugin on it, because I have a preamp, I have an equalizer, I have my first compressor. So the new technique is working. Let's create the word plugin. And the word plugin is Nebula, and it was created in 2006. In fact, Nebula Q was released in 2007. And I was helped from other people, for example, Francesco, because I was lacking some knowledge, because it was studying engineering. I forgot everything about engineering. So it was helping me because it was fresh on the matters. For example, I remember he helped me to do sample rate conversion, because he was studying this kind of stuff at the point. And we realized that the new technique was very good for clean device, but not very good for harmonic distortion devices with harmonic distortion, because our approach to dynamic convolution was very clean. So I remember that I was also looking for other techniques, and in 2006, when it was coding Nebula, we integrated other techniques coming from Volterra kernel techniques created by an Italian teacher in Parma, which is Angelo Farina. I remember that I was looking for a way for getting reverbs, and I was not able to do, for example, fast Fourier transform at all, and I was forced to study how to do it, because there was a point where the length of the impulse response was too much short, so we were forced to use a better technique, because the CPU was not able to manage it in real time. So I was forced to fast Fourier transform, and I was forced to study. And I remember that in 2006, I was spending my lunchtime in Milan. There is a sort of park close to the place where I was working. And I remember that I was spending my lunchtime studying, because I was not able to remember anymore what a fast Fourier transform was. And I was studying. I was spending all my day studying. Okay, this is the procedure. I need to do this. I need the, okay. And this was my daily job: coding and studying, coding and studying. And the more I was studying, the more I was coding, the more I was convinced that I had something new in my hands. At least the approach was new. And so at the end of 2006, we had this Nebula, and is very close to the actual Nebula. The commercial library, which is even today in Nebula was the commercial library created in 2006. This is very important to understand, because this was a sort of coding, it was a sort of fast coding, and I was going to create everything using this approach in the fastest time possible in my daily job. So I had a lot of time, and I had also time for studying, and so we created Nebula. Then, the year later, we were forced to go to work back to the old job, because there was the fusion.
Giancarlo, I need to stop you, and we'll continue, because I need to translate all the stuff. We have another part with this another year. Хорошо, ребята, я переведу то, что сказал Джанкарло. Я спросил у него, что по поводу Небулы, как получилось так, что была создана Небула. Джанкарло мне рассказал, что в 2005 году, когда он начал все вот эти исследования, связанные с Liquid Mix, с динамической сверткой, он разработал сначала отдельное автономное приложение Preamp, через которое можно было прогнать аудиозапись и тем самым сделать ее звучание лучше. Потом он сделал такое же приложение Equalizer, которое также работало круто. И перед самым Рождеством Giancarlo сделал компрессор, который работал, по сути, так же, как и его железный компрессор Yamaha, которым он очень часто пользовался в старые времена. И вот в тот момент он понял, что действительно надо делать что-то уже более удобное для использования, потому что автономное приложение — это не такая удобная штука. И Giancarlo начал очень много исследовать в плане создания свертки, потому что в то время они делали очень короткие импульсы, которые, соответственно, собирались с преампов, с эквалайзеров, но ревербератор, например, они не могли в то время сделать своим способом, потому что технология на то время не позволяла эту штуку реализовать. Точнее, она позволяла, но мощности компьютеров не позволяли эту вещь просчитать. Поэтому они начали проводить исследования. Франческо, вот парень, о котором я говорил немного ранее, он намного младше Giancarlo. Giancarlo, скажем так, его наставник, его учитель, но в то же время Франческо имел более свежие знания с университета об аудиообработке, о том, как программировать, а также о таких вещах, как FFT, это быстрое преобразование Фурье, в которых Giancarlo вообще уже перестал в какой-то момент разбираться. И вот Giancarlo говорит, что в свое время ланча на своей основной работе он тратил на обучение. Вот в то время, это 2006 год был, он тратил все свое время на то, чтобы учиться, чтобы вспомнить вещи, которые он давно забыл из-за рутинной работы. И вот в то время появилась первая Nebula, первый плагин, который уже использовал вот эти все вещи, о которых мы знаем, которые мы используем. И Giancarlo указал на очень важный момент, что те библиотеки, которые создавались в то время, они являются актуальными сейчас, и они являются основой коммерческой библиотеки, которая входит в состав текущей версии Nebula. То есть сэмплы, которые они тогда делали, они уже были качественными. И Франческо с очень важной вещью помог Giancarlo, он помог разобраться ему с преобразованием сэмплов из одной частоты дискретизации в другую. И это позволило им тогда собрать коммерческие библиотеки для Nebula. Okay, Giancarlo, we can continue.
Okay. And now I have the first advice to all your YouTube viewers. Reason why we create Nebula in so little time, so short time, is because I was sort of focused on creating the best tool for myself, and I did. I remember that I was happy about the result, and also my music improved. But now, your question could be, why did you release Nebula in a so short time, and then the Nebula didn't evolve with the same speed, because you know Nebula was created in just 1 year. Okay, this is the first advice. When you go in production with the product,
Okay.
the product is working for you, but it's not working for other people. You don't know, you cannot guess, you cannot imagine how much work there is when you go in production. Because you start realizing that other people, maybe if you are, even if you are selling at a cheap rate, cheap price, other people has a tool which doesn't work in most of the cases. And I didn't realize that there was a lot of work on it. And when you start debugging, you start solving issues for customers, you start fixing bugs, you start trying to help in their configuration, checking their configuration of the computer and so on, you stop creating software and you enter a new stage of your company, and you cannot invest in development and in research and development anymore. And this is a very important, this is a very basic point to understand. If you are creating something for yourself, you can create everything, a lot of things in a very short time. But if you are going to release it, you are going to invest all your remaining time on other people, spending all your time on debugging and other things which are not related with the technology itself. They are related with debugging, with the problems.
Okay, so
very important point.
It is a customer service stuff, not
yes.
programming
If
itself.
you are, especially if you are not a structured company, if you are really a small software producer, and if there is a little help from other people, this was my case because other people were in this initial company, but I was the only programmer. Other people were maybe involved in the site. Someone was involved in key creation, for example, authorizations, and, simple problem solving. Francesco was still on searching, but it was the only programmer. So it was a bit unexpected because when we decided to release the product was not ready for the market, to be honest. And we started to invest all our time in support. And we stopped creating the software and we entered a boring stage, which is really bad because when you are creating a tool, you are really happy. You know you are doing the right thing. You are using this. You are really happy. But when you are starting helping people because they don't have a working software, this is a really a bad job. I remember I was answering something like 100, 200 emails each day. It was really time consuming, and I was not programming anymore. So the project was stopped because I invested my remaining time for debugging. It was helpful because today, if I am a better programmer, it's because I had this stage.
Okay.
I had this experience. I was forced to debug. So I learned how to debug.
Okay, Giancarlo, I'll translate it. Wait a second. Hold your breath. Джанкарло рассказал очень интересную вещь, которая для нас на самом деле будет очень важна, как для конечных пользователей. Nebula была разработана в очень короткие сроки. То есть ребята просто сумасшедшими темпами разработали ее всего за несколько месяцев. Они собрали всю технологию с нуля и прорабатывали ее каждый день и делали просто семимильные шаги в этом направлении. Но когда они опубликовали Nebula и сделали ее коммерческим продуктом, то есть изначально вот эта вся канитель была затеяна для того, чтобы у Джанкарло появились приборы для того, чтобы он мог делать хороший звук в Италии. Но когда ребята решили, что пора эту вещь опубликовать, чтобы люди могли ее приобрести и также использовать, началась очень скучная стадия в жизни компании, потому что Джанкарло инвестировал все свое время в разработку программного обеспечения, а теперь точнее, ему пришлось инвестировать все свое время в решение проблем пользователей. То есть решение багов, решение каких-то непоняток, помощи людям в установке софта, в работе с софтом. То есть он совершенно перестал программировать. И он стал работать в режиме службы поддержки, что ли. Но он говорит, что это был очень нудный этап в его жизни, но в то же время очень важный, потому что этот этап сделал его намного лучше как программиста. То есть вот решение вот этих всех багов позволило ему стать более крутым программистом. Окей, Giancarlo, we can continue.
Okay. So basically, the Nebula project was a sort of frozen for a lot of years. There are some cool stuff happening. There were some cool stuff happening. For example, remember one of our first beta tester was Bang, so Steven Slate. He was at the beginning of his company, and he was selling drum samples. I remember it was really one of the first beta testers. But the truth was that we were not able to do it as a daily job, and all my time was consumed in support, mainly because it was not a daily job. So this is a sort of a paradox. You have something which is maybe work. You are not a good programmer because okay, it's not maybe your proper job. You are doing everything like a sort of hobby, but you are wasting all your spare time for fixing bugs. You cannot improve the tool anymore. You don't have enough money for doing it as a main job. Maybe you don't want to do it as a main job because it was not my expectation about it. You are waiting someone else come rescue, maybe they come, yes, try to help you, and it doesn't happen. You want to improve, but you cannot increase the prices because your service is bad and you are not good enough doing it. So basically, we sort of had this sort of limbo situation. So the company was a hobby. The product was interesting. We had a lot of people working on it. But it's very important to understand that, okay, in this period, we had a lot of third-party developers working with our tools. But we were not developing things anymore. We were just fixing bugs. And basically, Nebula didn't evolve. So starting from 2007 and ending maybe in 2013, basically Nebula is the same Nebula. Okay, we had more third-party developers. We had more libraries. We ported the code to Mac, for example. We ported the code from 32 to 64 bits. We created a sort of a server concept, okay, but the technique, the technology didn't evolve with the same speed we had at the beginning.
Okay, so it was almost the same, really.
Almost the same. There was an improvement, but the rate of the improvement was very slow. Okay, when you have all your time wasted answering emails, you have requests like, okay, computers are evolving. So maybe before, all computers were 32 bits. There were first computers running 64 bits operating systems. So you are forced to migrate your code. Then you realize that your Borland compiler doesn't work at 64 bits. so you are forced to move to Microsoft. Then you have complaints because your software doesn't work on a Mac, so you are forced to move your code to Mac. Then you have complaints because your software is not fast enough, so you start doing CUDA, for example, which is the ZPU programming. Then someone complains that, for example, he wants to use your software, but there is not enough power. So you create a sort of a server-client concept. Okay, they are sort of important tasks, but they are not the plugin. They are just ways for improving, debugging, porting the code to other platforms, supporting clients. You have a lot of tasks, but really the software doesn't evolve.
Окей, I need to translate it. Wait a bit. Джанкарло говорит о том, что он реально начал тратить все свое время на ответы на имейлы, на дебагинг, на решение каких-то заморочек с тем, что компьютеры начали развиваться, и нужно было делать уже плагины на 64-битной системе, а не на 32-битной. Потом нужно было портировать эти все вещи для Mac, то есть, по сути, Nebula развивалась в направлении поддержки пользователей, то есть поддержки систем пользователей, решений вот всяких проблем, связанных с работой пользователей с плагином, но сама система по себе не развивалась так, как бы хотелось Джанкарло на тот момент. Okay, Giancarlo. And where is the solution? When something changed in this?
Okay.
Because it sounds like a terrible situation.
Exactly. In 2010, it was also a review for NVIDIA, which is the company of video cards. Because we had an interesting approach to solving our problem using Delь techniques. But basically, the company was a sort of frozen. Okay, Francesco left the company. So at the end, I started a new project, which was a social network with other people. And yes, I was doing the audio project, which was Nebula supporting clients, but I was not interested in this project anymore. And I remember it was just supporting people, it was just supporting customers, but mainly I was doing other things. I remember I coded, for example, a database for a social network. We created a sort of a social network based on proximity and on geolocalization. We did other things. And I was not interested in the daily job anymore. And there was a point where one of members of Acustica in 2012, 2013, phoned me and he told me, okay, I see that we are not doing enough money today with Acustica. Maybe in the future we'll not be able even to cover our costs. So we need to think a bit about it. If we want to close the company and just to grab the money we did, it's very important to understand that we did a lot of money, but all money were used for taxes. This is how Italy is working. But there was something like 80,000 euro remaining. So he told me, okay, there are more or less 80,000 euro. If we close the company now, maybe we can close it without losing much. If we want to continue, we need to go serious about this job. We need to decide what to do. And I remember I was not ready for doing it because I was more interested in other stuff like the social network, like my daily job. I was not interested in the music anymore. But I told Antonello, yes, I understand. Maybe we can try to do it, but because my idea was not doing the audio stuff, was let's create a serious company and let's do the social network as a daily job. So I was not interested in doing audio, to be honest, because I was a bit bored. So so much time doing the same things, support clients. Basically, your technology is evolving, but not at the correct speed. You are a bit depressed because you don't know how to solve this problem. This is the point. So we decided to start this company seriously, but with another thing in our mind. It was, okay, this audio company is providing a very small amount of money each month. We can use this money for supporting other activities. So we can start a company, we can invest in audio, but maybe audio is not the right move because it's going to die. You know, that audio day, is a sort of a bad market. You can get a bit of money, but not so much money, especially if you are just creating software. And it's very difficult to get a daily job for a company because you need to invest a lot of efforts, and at the end of the day, revenue are very small. So the point was, let's go live with the company. Let's use the audio business branch for sort of supporting the company till the audio survives. Then we can start other activities. We can do other things. And maybe we can do it as a daily job without audio, or maybe just with audio like a small subset of the whole business. So this is very important to understand. We were not sure to support the audio because we were not convinced that there were money at all in this. My point was, okay, let's create something which is working in a better way, so we can support developers. We can create something more serious. We can invest, but we can keep this activity a bit more serious than today, but without a serious investment on our side because there are not money. So we need to be objective. We need to be really. We need to not tell a lie to ourselves. Audio is good today, is going to decrease during next years. We can use the current situation for creating better tools in the audio realm. We can support better development areas. And my idea in my mind was, okay, let's create a company. Maybe in the future, I can sort of manage audio like a sort of, funding audio. Even if the audio company is not gaining money, maybe I can support the audio branch in some way using the other job for supporting it properly. If I have a company which is doing millions in other areas, I can spend a little money for audio in order to keep it alive, because I was not happy to close the audio. I was just looking for a way for supporting it in some way without closing it. So for me, the company was, let's start with audio. Audio is giving a little money. We can use this little money for doing investment in other areas. When we are big in other areas where there is a revenue, we can support the audio like a sort of hobby, but we can support giving money in this area, and this area can stay alive in some way, and we can help other people even in this new business model. This is the point.
Okay. I understood, Giancarlo. I'll translate you. Translate it to guys. Джанкарло рассказал очень интересную вещь. В общем, вот эта ситуация с поддержкой Nebula двигалась вплоть до 2012 года. Они делали, то есть занимались только поддержкой пользователей и ничего серьезного не разрабатывали на самом деле. И в какой-то момент Антонелло, это напарник Джанкарло, позвонил ему и сказал: Джанкарло, Я делаю, то есть мы с собой делаем что-то не так, потому что компания приносит слишком мало денег, и надо решать, то есть или заниматься этим серьезно, или вообще не заниматься этим, закрыть компанию. Джанкарло в то время занимался разработкой базы данных для социальных сетей, то есть он уже был занят какими-то другими проектами и сказал, что нет, я не знаю, не хочу этим заниматься, в общем. Но в то же время Джанкарло не хотел закрывать аудиокомпанию. И они подумали над тем, чтобы у них есть немного денег в Acustica Audio, порядка там 80 тысяч евро на тот момент у них оставалось, и они решили, что они эти деньги пустят на какую-то компанию, которая сможет зарабатывать деньги, чтобы потом вот эти деньги инвестировать в Acustica Audio опять. Потому что ребята понимали, на аудиорынке очень мало денег, и с каждым годом становится все меньше. И поэтому очень тяжело заниматься деятельностью в ключе разработки плагинов, чтобы нормально на этом зарабатывать. И они решили... да, меня поправляют в чате, что 18 тысяч, да, вполне может быть. Я, наверное, не так расслышал. 18 тысяч евро у ребят осталось. О чем я? Да. Все заканчивалось тем, что они решили основать компанию, которая потом в будущем станет донором для Acustica Audio и таким образом сможет поддерживать компанию на плаву. Окей, Giancarlo, we can continue.
Okay. So the point was, okay, we are in 2014. We tried to create a company, but I was honest with myself. The company, the audio company, had a limited perspective. It was I wanted to support the project. I was not going to close it, but I was just looking for a better way for supporting the audio. And I was honest with myself. I was not sure about the amount of money we were able to get from audio. The reason is very simple, because after so many years, honestly, Nebula didn't evolve too much. So I was still not convinced to create, for example, good compressors. So from my point, there were other developers which were creating our libraries. So this business model was not possible. We were going to sell Nebula, but not so many Nebula anymore, because we already sold all possible Nebula to all possible customers, several thousand. The market was really small. There was not anything credible to create, which was going to create a revenue. If in all this kind of time, all this period of time, we were not able to live on audio, why creating it as a daily job? It was possible to create a revenue. It was not enough, maybe. Okay, we created a software. The software was working has been working for several years. The amount of money created with this software was not bad, but it was using our Italian taxation was not enough for living. We had not a proper business model, because all libraries were created by developers. We didn't have anything in our hands, just a small amount of money. We were going to do it as a daily job, but there was not an improvement. Just look at things from my perspective. I worked to Acustica Audio I've been working for Acustica Audio for 11 years. At the time, from 2005 to 2013, the time it was 8 years.
Yeah.
And in all this time, I was working 8 hours each day, not paid, and I was not able to create enough money even for myself. You can imagine if you create a company, an audio company, if the business model can work, it doesn't work.
Yeah, it is depressive.
It's depressing because you know that if doing it as a daily job, you was not able to create money, you was not able to do proper investment because you are spending all your time on support. So this is expensive because support is expensive. So you were not able to improve your technique to make it more appealing. Even if you have several thousand of users, they are not 100,000 because the market is very small. You are not able to do it as a daily job. You was not able to create a revenue when you was doing it paid from another job. And at this point, you want to create a company. And you know that there are other things which are creating more revenue. If you create a social network, you get just several customers, and you have something worth maybe several millions. And it's easier to create money that way because there is more interest. There are more customers. It's a matter of how many customers do you have. If you are creating a phone, you have a market which is around billions of users. When you are creating something in the audio realm, you are creating something which is in the 100,000 users, which is the amount of people which are able to spend money. Because you know there are cracks, there are piracy, there are other things. So we are speaking for a market which is 1,000 smaller than the other one. Okay, 1 billion, there was 1 million. Okay, this is 10,000 smaller. 10,000 smaller. So when you create something which is really bad in the social network area, you can survive. But in the audio realm, you need to create something which is the leading company in order to starving. This is the point, is how many users you can get. Even if your techniques are used by millions, because you know audio is used today from million users, and we have 100,000 downloads of Nebulas just from our website, but you know, Nebula Free is distributed also commercial from also pirate websites. So we are speaking about millions of people really using your software. But people which are spending are just few thousands. While when you are in the social network realm, you can have just a few thousand users, but they are evaluated because from the commercial point, each user means $4 to $100, more than the revenue from our application. You know, a customer on Facebook is evaluated from $4 to $100. Okay. Let's suppose it is a correct amount of money. I don't think it's too much in my opinion, but even $4, it means that you have $4 multiplied by billions. This is the point. So you have a working business model. In the audio realm, it's very difficult. If you are selling hardware, maybe you can survive. But if you are selling software and there is piracy, there is. Okay. We were lucky because we don't have much piracy because our tool was not cracked a lot. And it was even worse because we had less customers. Because you know, when the software is cracked, you have a lot of people speaking about your product. So if you have a few cracks, there is less diffusion to the software. And on the same time, okay, it was cracked not so much, but it was cracked. So we were not happy about it. They really didn't crack the software, to be honest, because just we released a version which was not protected at all in order to support the customer, and they used this version. This is why there is an old Nebula which is even buggy around. It's full of bugs. But in any case, it was distributed. And also about other things, we were not able to create a business on it. So I was not really happy about the situation, but in order to avoid, to close the project, I told Antonello, yes, we can do this company. Let's do it at the beginning. It's providing a bit of money. And then when we are sure we can move to a different area, we can move. We can support maybe this area in some way, I don't know. To be honest, it was not interested in supporting audio. It was just interested in creating a company, probably. But on my side, there was interest because I invested my own time in it. I invested a lot of hours. You should understand that I've spent 8 hours each day, at least from 2005 to 2013 alone, without a revenue. So for me, it was my project, even if I was not convinced about getting a revenue from it. But I spent a lot of efforts on it. I invested my lifetime on it. So for me, it was a very important project, even if it was a failing project. So this is the starting point. And in 2014, when we started, we didn't have a business model. Okay, there was maybe this Aqua plugin idea, which was starting working, but the revenue were really small because Aqua plugin were really selling not very much. I remember first plugin were selling 30 copies, something like that. You can survive selling 30 plugins. And I remember that the situation. Why so the situation? Because our first Aqua plugins were just plugin more expensive, doing more or less the same things that other libraries were doing. Our Nebula libraries were doing. So we had a sort of competition from our own products at a higher price rate. And even our okay, when you have a early or longer or you can eat bundle for Nebula, when you can spend £6 or now it's for free, and you have all possible preamps on Earth. If you create a plugin with a cool appearance, a cool interface, but it's doing one preset, and the other side you have 1,000 presets, and the price is 100 euros. This business model, cannot work.
Will not work. Okay. Okay, Giancarlo, I need to translate it. Giancarlo немного более глубоко попытался описать проблему, которая сложилась на тот момент у него с Антонелло. Проблема заключалась в том, что они собирались заняться компанией Acustica Audio, которая в перспективе могла иметь всего лишь там 100 тысяч пользователей в максимальном каком-то результате. Хотя на самом деле в реальности получается там всего несколько тысяч пользователей. А социальные сети в то же время могут принести намного больше пользователей. То есть Джанкарло сказал, что это могут быть миллионы пользователей. А если ты производитель телефонов, то у тебя могут быть миллиарды пользователей. И он говорит, что математика работает очень просто. Если в социальной сети ты продаешь какую-то вещь за $4, но у тебя миллион покупателей, то эта бизнес-модель работает. А с плагинами, аудиоплагинами, эта модель не будет работать так, как нужно, потому что у тебя есть в десятки тысяч раз меньше пользователей, но при этом стоимость твоего оборудование выходит не настолько высокой, чтобы покрыть вот эту разницу. И вот в этом и заключается очень большая проблема. И они очень много думали об этом. И основная причина, почему Джанкарло не захотел в то время закрывать компанию, это то, что на протяжении 8 лет до этого он тратил по 8 часов каждый день на то, чтобы как-то поддерживать компанию, работать в поддержке, то есть заботиться о пользователях, и он реально тратил большой кусок своей жизни на вот эти все вещи. И когда ребята уже сделали первый Aqua-плагин, они продали всего 13 копий первого плагина, потому что он получился как бы соперник Небулы в каком-то смысле в плане цены, но в плане производительности это было совершенно не то, потому что Aqua-плагин мог делать одну какую-то простую вещь, а Nebula в то же время имела сотни различных вещей. Преампы, эквалайзеры, компрессоры, все что угодно. А стоимость была сопоставима, и поэтому Aqua-плагины изначально не пользовались большой популярностью. Окей, Джанкарло, we need to compress us a bit because we're already 2.5 hours on our stream, and we're on a bit depressive period of your life now, and let's dive in a bit into the more positive period when things start changing, because all these reasons of depression we already understand, and when things start moving better, because now we see a big company and productive company who made a lot of stuff, a lot of great stuff, a lot of technologies. We have all these stages of core revolution, of core development, 5, 6, 7, now 8, and stuff like that. When all this stuff start moving?
Okay, when we created the Sirius company, because before it was not this big company, in 2014 the situation for a while was even worse. Because when we started the company, because we were not aware about costs, to be honest. Our business model was based on very small costs, around 5,000 euros, 80,000 euros each month, more or less. When we started the company, seriously, before it was a company, but it was not a company with offices, with employees, things like that, we had something like 30,000 euro of costs each month. So we started spending money. We didn't have much money. We invested our own money. Antonello invested his own money, for example, his brother, and things like that. But the company was going in not in a good direction, because costs were too much and we didn't have a business model. So in 2014, we created this new business model. And this is the business model we have also today, and it's the business model which allowed to create Nebula 4. Nebula 4 was almost ready in 2014, but we were not able to complete it. We were not able to deliver it, and Nebula 4 was not able to sustain our company in that because we were not ready for delivering it properly. So we started this Aqua plugin age, and we started really creating a new business model, and this new business model was able to sustain us and to create a sort of new hope for our company, because we realized that we were able to sell plugins. The new business model was working. We invested new money for developing new things. So we reached the same speediness we had at the beginning. This is the point. At the beginning, in 2006, I was really fast. Then the business model was not working, and I was really slow, so Nebula basically didn't change. But it was very important because we solved all issues with the engine. Okay, at the beginning of 2014, there was a lot of issues still, but I was a better programmer. Okay. Then we found a better business model, and I was able to return to the old speediness. So this is the point. And this is the reason why today we were able to release Nebula 4. We are able to do investments. We didn't sell so much, but we sold enough in order to sustain, to get employees, to do it on a daily basis, to sustain it properly, and to invest on research and development. For example, in 2014, we had a little money, but not so much. In 2015, it was a bit better because, you know, there was a Core 6, there was a lot of investment on the technology, and there was a lot of improvement, and we had a reason for people to buy the product, because Core 6 means that you have less resources invested for doing equalizers. So it means that if we Acustica release an equalizer, there is a reason why you should buy it. So the business, as soon as we invested in technology, we were able to get a revenue. Now, I'm sure we were able to do it since the very beginning. But we didn't invest it, so we didn't get money. And we were not able to invest properly in research and development. This is also a lesson to everybody. If you don't have the proper ways for doing things, don't do things. Because if you do things and you don't have, you cannot handle them in a proper way, in a serious way, you are just starving. You are not creating revenue. You cannot improve. At the end, it's something which is failing. On the other side, if you can invest and you are serious about an activity, you can invest, you can get the money back, you can invest more money, you can get the money back, you can improve, and the company is rising. Why today everybody, you go on a forum, for example, just last, in the bad or in the good ways, that doesn't matter if they speak bad, but there are people, they are speaking about us. Why they are? Because before, even when third-party developers were creating incredible stuff, and even if forums were crowded with people speaking about stuff, but really there was not hype, no products. People were just two kind of people. A small subset saying, Nebula is very good, it's working. And the biggest audience was telling otherwise, yes, Nebula, but you know, it's convoluted, there is using all my CPU, I don't want to use it. This is the point. Today, the situation is different because we were able to invest. If today you start, for example, even a compressor like Send, standalone compressor, you realize that you can open hundreds of instances. Before it was not possible, and the sound is very good. Why is very good? Before compressors were not so good, because we invested. Why we invested? Because the company is serious. It's very important. It's a lesson to learn.
Окей, I'll translate it. Что ж, Джанкарло рассказал много интересных вещей, связанных с тем, как компания стала развиваться нормально. Дело в том, что вот мы говорили о каком-то таком депрессивном периоде в жизни компании, но когда ребята решили заниматься компанией серьезно, то они решили, что они будут инвестировать деньги в разработку продуктов, чтобы потом получать отдачу и потом опять инвестировать в разработку новых вещей. И разработка продуктов касалась не только в создании просто новых аква-плагинов, на которых вот в последнее время ребята были сосредоточены, а в разработку технологий. Если кто-то более-менее внимательно следит за продуктами Acustica аудио, таких ребят, как я, в том числе, достаточно много в нашем сообществе, по крайней мере, то вы видели, как все развивалось в 2015-2016 году. В 2014 году ребята вот решили изменить свою бизнес-модель и начали больше инвестировать, чтобы потом еще больше инвестировать в компанию. И с 2015 года, вот до этого момента, мы продвинулись от Core 5 до Core 9 технологий. То есть сменилось 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 5 технологий в продуктах Acustica аудио. В какой-то момент на Core 6 эквалайзеры стали есть очень мало мощности центрального процессора. И это уже было круто, и это был очень большой шаг, и какой-то звоночек для пользователей, чтобы инвестировать деньги в продукты Acustica аудио, потому что всегда они звучали шикарно, и Nebula звучала шикарно, и Aqua-плагины тоже звучали шикарно. И вот с развитием вот этих технологий, с улучшением ядра плагинов стало возможным использовать в одной сессии сотню компрессоров, сотню эквалайзеров, сотню преампов без перегрузки центрального процессора. И вот Джанкарло говорил о одной из последних разработок, в которую я очень люблю, это SAND, эмуляция нескольких SSL-овских консолей, то компрессор, который входит в состав SAND, на среднем ASM-процессоре можно загрузить в 100-150 экземпляров без никаких проблем, без перегрузки процессора. И это очень круто. И ребята дальше улучшают свои технологии, дальше развивают эти вещи, потому что их бизнес-модель начала работать. Они инвестируют в новые разработки, а не просто в поддержку пользователей. И для нас, пользователей, это хорошо, потому что с каждым месяцем мы получаем все более и более качественные продукты. Okay, Giancarlo, we can continue, and we could talk a bit about Nebula 4, because we saw a lot of great Aqua plugins last year. I mean, Sand, Lime, Coral, Ultramarine new version, Aquamarine new version, and stuff like that. And now we have Nebula. And why you decided to release Nebula 4, which was almost ready in the 2014, now on almost on the Christmas Eve this year?
Yes, it's very important to understand that Nebula 4 is not a new product or not the product. Nebula is the product. We were able to release something like Nebula 4 around in 2014. This is the reason why we established also the company, because in my mind, I was going to release Nebula 4 exactly that year. But Nebula was just a way for creating a sort of skinned environment for the old libraries. So it was just a way for getting a better workflow. If we released Nebula in 2014, we didn't have enough money for going on. The idea, this was the idea was to invest in standalone plugins, so with a better workflow, so nobody was not able to complain because the workflow was similar to other plugins. We invest in this sort of new branch, which was not in competition with what other developers were doing, because my main competition was from our Nebula library developers. Because if I create the same library they are doing, and if I'm just like going to sell it at an higher rate, because I have to sustain more costs, because the company has more cost. If you have standalone to the party developer, you have less cost. So if you are going to just to release it in the same way, using the same techniques, you are going to fail, because nobody will be able to, will want to buy it. So my idea was, let's create standalone plugin with a better workflow, which basically are the new Nebula library format. Let's make a revenue from it, creating a sort of a complex library. For example, Lime, Sand, Coral, they are complex Nebula libraries. When the platform is good enough, so there is an interest in this platform because you can do better libraries, we can release a new Nebula with a better business model. Which is the new business model? We have Nebula free libraries, which is the past. Nebula 4 is able to load the Nebula free libraries, and this is the past. Nebula 4 is able to get the normal commercial library, which is skinned, and maybe we can allow to skin libraries to other developers, and this is nothing new. This is the Nebula 4 concept. We are able to create more complex libraries, which is the new Nebula 4 Aqua library format, using new techniques which are paid from me because we invested in the company. And using this new technology, we can create new libraries using a working business model. Which is the new working business model? Simply, the developers, before the company was a hobby, and we didn't ask money to developers. We cannot change the past. We cannot change our agreements, even if they are written in emails. But if we are going to invest on the company, we have a company, we have a new technology, we just move to a different business model, which is the new business model. Simply, we created technology, libraries are more evolved, there is more investment, and they pay a little royalty to us. If they don't do, they can continue do things like before. For me, it's the same. If they want, we support them. They just pay a small royalty. We can invest on the company, on the technology, on support. So we can pay support, we can pay things. We can improve things. They can have a better platform. People is interested in this new platform because we can do better things like compressor. We can have a Lime. We can have a Send like a library. And there is this new business model which is working. It doesn't mean that Aqua plugin will die. Aqua plugin are just libraries for Nebula 4. They are just evolved Nebula 4 libraries, which can be run as a standalone application too. But Nebula 4 today can have a new business model, and we can have a reason for selling it and also for selling the new library format because it's better, because we have a better technology. So we have a reason, we have a good reason for going on.
Yeah, and on this business model, you can invest more when
this is the correct business model when you have a company. When you have an obesity company, the previous business model was working. I don't want to change the past. The past was good. I don't want to change my agreement with the party developers. I want to be honest. If I wanted, I could. Because there is not a contract which is linking me to them. But you know, I want to keep my word. If I told them you can create your libraries for free, I don't want to change things because I change my opinion or I change my decision. So what I want is that they continue to do what they want. If they want to be supported in a new platform, they join our efforts. We paid for the new efforts. If they wanted to use the old model, they can continue using that. The old model is not a good model, both for us and both for them, because our developers are very small. They are not even doing it as a daily job. So it means that the business model is not working ever for them. But it is an obestic model which is working. If they want to go as much serious as we are today, because we invested real money on it, okay, they need to join. I don't want to change my past agreements with them. They can continue to do other past things. They are working, possibly. We are creating something new, which is working in a better way, more reliable, more debugged. We can have more technology because we had the same speed we had in 2006 for development. In 2015, and more important, in 2016, I had the same speed rate I had at the very beginning because I could concentrate on research and development. Yeah. The company changed a lot last time because Antonello left the company, because when we started creating audio application and the company started doing money on it, really Antonello was maybe interested in other things. I don't know. It's not really the company want to create. It was more in financial things. In fact, today Antonello is back to the old job because he liked maybe financial institution, financial jobs in a better way. He had also personal issues. So there are a lot of, but I am grateful because I did, because we started this new adventure. And today the company is a bit different because we have other people working, but we are more stable now. And we worked the whole 2016 like I worked in 2006. In fact, there was a sudden evolution of you can test by yourself.
Yeah. Okay, Giancarlo, I need to translate it. Джанкарло рассказал очень много интересных вещей, связанных в первую очередь с бизнес-моделью, которая у них сейчас работает в компании. Но вот я вижу вопрос от Магли Бэб или Магли Баб. четвертая небула чем от третьей отличается? И вот Джанкарло, пока говорил, ответил на этот вопрос. Мы все увидели релиз небулы 4 перед Рождеством, вот совсем недавно, пару недель назад. И Джанкарло говорит, что четвертая небула — это не новая небула, а это развитие небулы самой по себе. Небула не изменилась. То есть это, опять же, оболочка, внутри которой работают библиотеки, которые делают ребята. Но, тем не менее, изменилась технология, потому что Nebula 4 использует Core 9, более быструю, более качественную технологию, которая может лучше работать с компрессорами, которая может использовать комплексные библиотеки, такие как Sand, Lime, Coral, которые вот были выпущены этой осенью. И в плане изменения бизнес-модели Джанкарло рассказал интересный момент, связанный с тем, что его контракт с подрядчиками, я думаю, вы видели на сайте Acustica Audio список подрядчиков, которые делают сторонние библиотеки для Nebula. Был очень прост. Они ничего не платили за использование Nebula, они просто делали какие-то вещи. А теперь с новой бизнес-моделью они должны платить очень маленький процент от своих продаж, который ребята в Acustica Audio могут пустить на дальнейшее развитие платформы. Но в то же время производители сторонние могут решать, они могут остаться на старой платформе, и контракт для них будет не изменен. Но если они хотят работать уже в новых условиях, то тогда вот они будут уже платить определенные роялти. Но чем это чревато для нас, по большому счету? Это чревато тем, что некоторые из старых производителей должны перейти на новую платформу, и мы увидим намного больше продуктов, библиотек для Nebula в этом и последующих годах. То есть количество приборов и красок, которые мы сможем добавить в нашу палитру, будет намного более живым и разнообразным. Я не перевожу всякие финансовые моменты, о которых говорил Джанкарло. Кто захочет, переведет это по ходу. Но я, опять же, хочу отметить, что мы сейчас находимся в очень выигрышном положении, потому что продукты, которые выпускают Acustica Audio, мы можем спокойно использовать. Они оптимизированы для использования в наших секвенсорах, и мы можем беспрепятственно использовать их для улучшения наших записей. Okay, Giancarlo. I've translated this stuff to guys, made a bit of resume on all your speech, and now let's talk a bit about future projects. As I understood, you'll concentrated on third-party developers. This time you're thinking about somebody else would make libraries for using in Nebula, yes. and you'll spend your times on some other projects. I understand correctly or not?
Yes, it's very important to understand that today the Aqua plugins, which are the new library Nebula format, is a bit more expensive than in the past, because the library are more complex. So what I think will happen is that other people will start doing what we are doing today at the correct price tags. If you want an old Nebula library, you have it at a cheap price. There are more streamlined libraries which are very expensive to create because you need to sample a lot of devices, you need to invest a lot of money on their creation. So they are a bit more expensive, but as you can see, our prices are decreasing. For example, when we started, we were selling for 200 an equalizer, which was just a master equalizer. Today, when we release Coral, you have a compressor, an equalizer, other bundles, analytical filter, and things like that, and it's cheaper and cheaper. Why? Because we are creating a new model where we are really decreasing the cost. When we are creating, for example, Lime, there are 4 compressors inside. This is the point. So we are sort of improving the model, and we are really decreasing the cost for creating good models and for creating good plugins. So this is very important. But this is just the starting point. What I want to create now is a community which is using the new technology for creating libraries. Don't expect that rates will be a lot lower, but we can gradually reach a good level of the price. And we are improving, and it's working. My idea is not to create a cheap plugin of €2, unless you want a subscription, but to create still a product maybe in the 80s. But you can put everything inside it. So the point, which is a model which can be sustained, because if you are selling at a very low price, it means that you don't have a cost for support. You need to get a proper price for supporting. So if we have a cheaper model, we can invest in order to get the model more appealing compared with the other developers, which my competitors are not anymore third-party developers, are other companies now. Because today other companies like, I don't know, Steven Slate is creating, okay, let's don't speak, I want to speak about the subscription model, but about the normal selling module, is very slow releasing things. Okay, if you like them or you don't like them, is not a matter of mine, but the release rate is very slow. We are really fast, so we can create something which is more appealing and in an effortless way. This is the point.
Окей, I'll translate it. Джанкарло говорит о том, что их бизнес-модель рассчитана на быстрый выпуск приборов. И такая модель позволяет им делать очень много вещей и в какой-то степени генерировать деньги для будущих разработок. Потому что основная цель все-таки генерировать деньги не для покупки всяких там машин, яхт или еще чего-то, а так как и 10 лет назад Джанкарло хочет заниматься музыкой, и движение компании идет в этом направлении. Но сейчас Джанкарло концентрируется на том, чтобы создать сообщество людей, которые бы могли делать библиотеки для Nebula, и таким образом за счет расширения количества создателей уменьшить цены на вот эти библиотеки, чтобы продуктов выпускалось больше, но их стоимость была значительно меньше. Ну вот вместе с выпуском Nebula 4 мы увидели выпуск компрессора Rose, который стоил значительно меньше, чем тот же Sand, тот же Coral, и это на самом деле часть вот этой всей системы. Так что довольно скоро, если все будет идти нормально, по крайней мере Джанкарло надеется, мы увидим намного больше продуктов, более качественных и в то же время по более низкой стоимости. И это очень неплохо. Кроме того, Джанкарло концентрируется сейчас на том, чтобы не просто выпустить очередной компрессор или очередной эквалайзер, а сделать что-то большее. И последние продукты, вот такие как Sand, Coral, Lime, как раз это демонстрируют. То есть в Sand мы видим кучу эквалайзеров, кучу компрессоров, преампов, различных возможностей маршрутизации. То есть это полноценный channel strip, и причем не однобокий, а разноплановый. То же самое в Lime. Там целая куча режимов, целая куча приборов использована для этого. Coral — полноценный мастеринговый channel strip. В общем, все работает в этом плане для пользователей. И Giancarlo, want to ask interesting question from Svetoslav Kolodочkin. How many time you need to spend to make a good convolution of compressor, equalizer, and stuff like that? How many time and how many money you spend on one unit?
Yes, we can now it's interesting because in my previous job I was working in a data warehouse also. So we created also a data warehouse for the company for getting costs and for understanding which are our costs. Now, the company today costs the cost of the company is around 30,000 euros each month, but it can be even 40,000 euros. So it's very important to understand which is the ballpark of the cost we are going to afford in order to keep the company alive with the small subset of people.
You spend 50,000 euros
30 to 40. 30 to 40.
Each month for taxes and stuff like that?
Yes, just for sustaining the company.
Yes,
this is Italy. Welcome to Italy.
Oh my God! It is just for sustaining, just for amortization.
Yes, just for employees. Just for employees. I'm speaking about what they are earning. I think we are just a little less than 20,000. But you have to spend other taxes because you have also to spend for offices, for the structure, for other things. For example, for electric power. I don't know.
Yeah, it is a big. But how many money you need to spend on creating unit?
Because people don't understand. Sometimes they say, but you don't need much money for doing it. No, this is a cost. So before we speak about the cost, so you understand. We don't need a lot of time for creating a new model. Normally, we need 1 month for creating a plugin like, for example, Lime. Normally, an equalizer depends on the amount of hours you need to spend. But for an equalizer, you can create an equalizer, a complex equalizer, in around 3 days. Normally, a compressor, sampling of compressor, you can spend 1 day, even a couple of days, but not more. Preamp, just a few hours. If you are going to create a preamplifier, maybe you need to invest 1 hour for each emulation. And our process now is completely automatic. And this is why we spent a lot of money for our technology. Because, for example, compressor of Lime were created in a single day convolution. It means that I worked in a single day because everything is automatic. And the final quality is completely automatic. The result is completely automatic. It's very important to understand that the process now is very cheap. But don't forget you need to rent studios. You need to go there. You need to analyze the unit. You need to evaluate if the result is good, if your technology is good. If you have something missing, you need to create something missing. For example, even in the GUI, the framework, which we are using, which is completely automatic also for creating the appearance of the plugin, sometimes you need a little module which is missing, which was not developed. So you need to create the missing depths. And next time you reuse them, because we are creating plugins using only a sort of a scripting approach. So we are not coding really. We are using a sort of engine for creating, and everything is very automatic.
Okay.
For a skin, for example, we can sometimes we need 5 days to 10 days. Depends on the level of detail we need to create. How many skins? For example, Lime, there are 4 plugins, 5 plugins. Now I don't remember, or Coral, some number. So you need to do animation to cut features, but everything is almost automatic. But you need amount of time for creating plugins, which is really a small amount of time. You should understand that other companies maybe needs months for creating properly a plugin, because each time they need to solve the electric schema, they need to compare, they are not sure about results, they need to make optimizations, because otherwise the CPU load is skyrocket. Then they need to create the appearance, and we have a sort of industrial approach to creating the appearance or user manuals. They are a bit more, less industrial approach. They are more manual approach. So
yeah,
most of companies maybe create even more complex products, but they need a lot of months, and they have a different cost distributed in different ways. So.
Okay, Giancarlo, I'll translate it. Святослав Колодочкин спрашивал, сколько времени нужно потратить, чтобы сделать качественную сверку, к примеру, компрессора, ревербератора. И Джанкарло сказал, что на изготовление такого прибора, как Lime, уходит приблизительно 1 месяц. То есть часть времени тратится на сэмплирование, часть времени тратится на разработку графического интерфейса. На графический интерфейс они тратят от 5 до 10 дней, в зависимости от того, сколько интерфейсов нужно сделать. И также тратится время на разработку самой оболочки. Но здесь все автоматизировано, то есть все завязано на скриптах, и парни не кодят это все каждый раз с нуля. И поэтому, вот, отвечая на этот вопрос, плагин сложный, как Lime, можно сделать за месяц. И ребята, вот Джанкарло сказал, стали сейчас на такие индустриальные рельсы, то есть они стараются делать много приборов и в максимально оптимизированном таком рабочем процессе. Большое спасибо за этот вопрос. Okay, Giancarlo, I have a question from another user. Acustica Audio consists of the group of cool programmers. They are all involved in music and known in engineering, in theory, and stuff like that. Or they just working under your conduction?
No. Now, today we are a company composed by eight people working in a single building. I am the only one which is the real musician, because the other one are more programmers, are more normal employees in the normal term. I mean, they are engineers, there are maybe people involved in accounting or involved in the financial side of the company, but you need to understand that from the musician point of view, maybe Enrique is a better on music, a bit also Fabio, but mostly the company, they are not very involved in audio. I am still the one which is the connection between the audio and the software. And still I am the only one which evaluate the products. For example, I test products, I say, okay, this one is very good, and they can hear me, it's very good, it's very good. This one is very bad, shit, don't release it, and things like that. Not joking, this is how things are working. Then we have also external collaborators, which are sort of internal developers. They are consultants, and we are paying them like consultant. And for example, also Franci, which is developing Nebula 4, which is Franci, which is the one which created also Nebula setups and other things. Okay, he is a consultant, external consultant. We have also external consultant, even paid a lot, which are, for example, sampling around the world. For example, we have Nick, which is sampling in the UK. We have Italo, which is sampling in Italy, for example. We have Stefano, which is an external collaborator, which is sampling in Italy. And they are paid, but not on a monthly basis. In any case, okay, some of them are more or less paid like it was a daily job. But the real people working on a daily basis are the ones which are working in our offices. This is the...
Окей, understood. Джанкарло сказал, что у них в компании работает 8 человек, и, в принципе, тут только Энрике как-то более-менее завязан на музыке, а все остальные ребята не вовлечены в аудиопроизводство и работают в Acustica Audio, потому что это, компания, а не в том ключе, в котором Джанкарло работает, скажем так. И, по большому счету, Джанкарло остается единственным человеком, который определяет ценность приборов, которые создаются. То есть что-то делается, он говорит, да, это круто, что-то другое делается, он говорит, нет, это очень плохое. И, в принципе, он определяет ценность любых продуктов в этом плане. Также они используют каких-то сторонних консультантов. Вот Джанкарло сказал, что в Италии у них есть парень, который сэмплирует приборы, это Стефан. В Британии есть парень Ник Георгиев, я его знаю, он из Болгарии, кажется. В общем, есть сторонние консультанты, которым платят деньги за то, что они сэмплируют приборы. И вот я еще забыл сказать, мне парни в чате напомнили, в предыдущем пакете того, что Джанкарло говорил, он говорил, что на поддержание компании каждый месяц они тратят от 30 до 40 тысяч евро чисто на то, чтобы поддерживать компанию, чтобы она не развалилась. То есть достаточно крупный стрессовый фактор, о котором им приходится помнить, и поэтому они шевелятся и делают какие-то новые вещи. Okay, Giancarlo, we need to finish in a bit. Yeah. We'll already 3 hours on stream. You're already tired. I am a bit tired too. Yeah. So we have a great conversation today, and let's finish with something great, with some tips, tricks, advices to guys who involved in music, who worked as engineer, as producer, and in other music-related projects.
Okay, my main message is all this conversation is not much about music, but is more about business model. Is very important to understand that you need to have a good business model. This is my first point. The second point is that in your company is very important there is a person which understands the business from the customer perspective. For example, in our company, for example, I told you I was at least in the past. I was not a good programmer, was not everything remarkable, but I had a good approach to music because I was expert about how a tool should work and about the sound of the tool, about the result. So, for example, in our company, it's very important there is, in this case, my person, there is someone which is able to judge if a tool is good or not. It's not something obvious. You need to understand that whatever you do in your life, you do the things where you are good for. For example, if you are good for sports, okay, you need to do something which is where you can express yourself in a proper way. It's strange because I'm doing programming today and there are better programmers in the world, but I think I'm programming the audio world, which is a need, where is in this case more important than someone understands what the customer needs. And the customer sometimes doesn't need a good workflow, doesn't need a readable software. Sometimes needs, for example, that particular sound, that particular tone, that tool that is in the audio, the hardware element it wants in the software. Okay, you need to understand if there is a need for something, and you need to fill the gap. The third suggestion I want to provide is okay, it's very important when you create something, maybe if you want to release, if you create something which is useful for you. This is maybe the most important message. For example, this company exists because I was going to release something which was this tool is useful also for other people. So we are selling it, and we can sell because there is a need. But there is a need because there was at least one customer, and the first customer is Giancarlo of this company. When I create a new tool, it's because the new tool is something which is useful for me. When I created Nebula, it was because I needed Nebula. When I created Aqua plugin, because I needed the Aqua plugins. We create also hardware device in the future. We are starting working on them, and we work on them because I am the first customer for those devices. So this is the important message, the last important message. You need to create something which is really useful for you. You don't create things just because there is a need of the market that you want to fill, you want to create a daily job, you want to do something fun. No, do something because you really need it. And if it's good enough, just evaluate if you want to sell it. And going back to the other point, when you are going to sell it, be sure that you are doing it properly, using the proper ways for doing it. Because if you want to release something because the world needs it, but you are not serious because it's not your main job, you are not involving other people correctly, it means that you will live for sustain it, but not very much successful result, because in the end, you know, if you are not serious, you cannot involve serious people, you cannot involve serious resources, you can invest the resources, and there is a sort of a cycle. At the end, you don't have money for investing again, and you are just investing all your time in something which is failing, which is not working on the business side. And this is the only reason why I'm speaking about the business model. You need to understand that you need the proper business model. You want something which can be sustainable. This is the point.
Okay, understood. I'll translate it. Джанкарло говорит, что мы сегодня очень много разговаривали про бизнес-модели, и поэтому он хочет дать совет именно в этом русле. Когда вы чем-то занимаетесь этим осмысленно, чтобы вот то, что вы делаете, было реально вам нужно, а не просто так двигалось в каком-то непонятном ключе. Джанкарло на своем примере говорит, что он всегда стремился создавать вещи, которые нужны ему самому, и поэтому эти вещи работают, и он желает то же самое и всем нам. И в то же время он говорит, что когда вы начинаете чем-то заниматься, то занимайтесь этим серьезно. Никакая работа несерьезная не принесет вам ни удовольствия, ни какого-то профита в итоге. Потому что вы всегда должны помнить о том, что когда вы затеваете какое-то дело, нужно не только уметь его затеять, но и еще его и поддерживать. Потому что поддержка, финансирование вашего дела, это очень сложно. Легко создавать вещи, но надо быть осмысленным человеком и серьезно относиться к вещам, когда вы чем-то занимаетесь. Это основной посыл, который Джанкарло передал нам, как его зрителям, как его пользователям, подписчикам, покупателям. В общем, будем двигаться дальше. Giancarlo, thanks a lot for your advices, for your time, for your answers, for your thoughts. It was super interesting. It was funny. It was depressive in some ways. It was scary. It was more optimistic in some ways. And I'm happy. Yeah, and I'm happy that your company now.
The pessimistic side is important because we are not pessimistic. The message is not being pessimistic. The message is to properly handle things using the proper ways for doing it. It's pessimistic if you are not. When you have something which doesn't work in the proper way. Okay, Nebula worked for customers, so it is a successful product, even when from the pessimistic point of view, we were not getting a revenue from it. So it's a good story. It's a good story because from the customer perspective, it was a good release, a good product. It solved a lot of issues. A lot of people in Africa or other countries, poor countries, are accessing tools because of us. So it's not a bad story. But I want to warn people that the story can be very pessimistic if you don't analyze properly how to handle it. Okay.
Okay, Giancarlo. Yeah, we understood it correctly. But you've got us a lot of interesting thoughts on life perspective, not just on music or your products. And thanks a lot, because it is your life experience. It is super valuable, really, because you got some bad points in your strategy. You've have some mistakes on your thoughts, on your thinking, and you know it now. But you've shared with us all this knowledge, and that's great. Thanks a lot for your time again. Thanks a lot for this conversation. We have a lot of likes already on our stream, and thanks. Have a nice evening. It is an evening in Italy. It is almost night here in Ukraine, and already night in Russia. Say goodbye to everybody. And, ребята, скажите спасибо и до свидания, Джанкарло. Увидимся в следующих трансляциях. Большое спасибо за внимание. Заходите на сайт yorshoffmix.com, подписывайтесь на наши обновления в соцсетях и не забывайте следить за выходом новых видео на канале Yorshoff Mix. До скорой встречи. Плывите к звуку. Bye-bye, Giancarlo.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.